This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to be talking about D'Angelo Russell possibly being traded to the Timberwolves. They made a deal with the Hawks to send Jeff Teague over there. So we'll talk about that deal and then talk about what it could possibly open up for the Minnesota NBA team. Then we're going to bring in a patron, Bilal, our guy, our LA guy, and he's going to talk about Zion and the Pelicans, what Zion's going to bring to the court, obviously what he's going to bring to that team as well, and if he can make a substantial impact on that team to possibly bring them to the playoffs. Then we're going to do Wet Boys.
We're talking playoffs?
And then we're going to finish out with some probably maybe a playoff team talk, but they're still bad. The New Jersey / Brooklyn Nets, now the Brooklyn Nets, used to play in Teaneck, New Jersey. Figured that out this week.
Really?
I always thought it was Newark for some reason, but it was Teaneck.
Well, I mean, if you're going to New Jersey, there's only two places that I can think of off the top of my head.
Atlantic
Newark.
City.
Oh, I even forgot about Atlantic City.
How do you forget Atlantic?
Newark and then Hoboken.
Yeah.
Hoboken.
My guy.
This guy.
Dropping a Hoboken.
And the only reason I know that is because Barstool did their pizza thing in Hoboken this week.
Gross. Anyways, that's going to be what we're talking about. We're talking about D'Lo. We're talking about the Pelicans. We're going to talk about Wet Boys. I'm going to yell at Ricky again for his awful Wet Boy, and then we're going to do some net talk. So it's going to be fun. We do want to thank obviously Bilal, who will be a patron, and you can help support us at patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Dave's going to pull up the sweet fancy new page. It's probably up right now. He's trying to
Took
find
me a minute. Ricky named it weird.
But yeah,
It's
no.
just Twitch things.
Yeah, why is it
It should be
patron?
patron things.
Yeah, it should
Seriously.
be patron things.
Well, I'm thinking we're on Twitch.
But on the
it's a
screen,
thing.
those are all of our patrons that we're very, very thankful for. We appreciate all their support at patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Anyways, let's jump into the deal. D'Angelo Russell now possibly being in rumors to possibly go to the Timberwolves, and that is set in place by the Minnesota Timberwolves sending Jeff Teague and a player. Right? They sent one player.
Yes, Graham.
They
Not
sent,
Devonta Graham.
Yeah, they
but
sent
Graham.
I think Trevon
Yeah.
Graham. Graham, Teague and Graham to the Hawks for Allen Crabbe. So the Hawks get their secondary ball handler behind Trae Young and reunite Jeff Teague in Atlanta, and Minnesota gets really nothing for this deal. So I was kind of shocked a little bit by that. Let's start off there, and then we'll talk about what it opened up for Minnesota and possibly what they could be getting, but not from the Hawks. I was pretty shocked that he couldn't get a second.
Okay, so here's the thing.
They got bigger fish to fry.
Allen Crabbe, in theory, is better than what Teague provided for the Timberwolves. Teague, yes, he could get his numbers, but I think the biggest complaint I saw about him while looking through a lot of their subreddit was basically he will just dribble the air out of the ball, and their offensive system, even if Cat's on the floor, is not going to run through Cat. It will run through Teague, and it just he was a net negative for how they wanted to play the game. And because they're using point guard Wiggins, point guard Culver out there, you don't really need Teague out there. So I get that, and you pull in Crabbe, who in his career has been a really good 3-and-D player. Great shooter from three. Unfortunately, it looks like a down year right now playing in the Hawks system, but I still think he can return to form, and I think that the Timberwolves will get some better spacing out of him. So I think it's not as bad as you're saying it. I do think they should have got a second. I think that would have absolutely made sense. So it's a little disappointing, but asterisk.
I mean, Allen Crabbe is very much a bench piece. Jeff Teague could be a starter in this league. I mean, although he can be a net negative, at least to an offensive system in ways, I also don't think that team truly had a great enough ability to move the ball anyways. I mean, you have Cat, but Cat's probably better off anyways in space. He's not really great in a pick and roll system. We've seen Teague be great in a team ball moving situation in Atlanta with Coach Bud before. I don't think that's lost on him. He was only 31 years old. And with Crabbe, too, I mean, Crabbe's been pretty much a huge disappointment with this contract. He hasn't shot over 40% in 3 years. And from three, that's where he's most valuable for. Actually, I'm sorry, he hasn't shot over 40% from three in 3 years. I was looking at the wrong thing. But he still hasn't. Last time he shot over 40% from the field was 2016, 2017 when he shot 46% from the field. Then he shot 40%, 36%, and 36%. But from three, 32% this year, 37%, 37%, 44%, and he hasn't been in double-digit points since 3 years ago when he averaged 13.2. So he just seems like a negative player out there, especially with this contract. The whole joke was Alan Crabb died so KD can go to the Nets.
Do you like the whole fact that this is like full circle trade though? Like when you look at because it was Teague leaving town. Oh God, I'm gonna get killed for this. He
left in 2016.
Right, they
the Pacers.
Right. And then, if I remember right, the Crab deal was... Oh, man, I should have pulled this up ahead of time.
He went from Portland to the Nets.
I think it was full circle. I think, literally, it went full circle for Jeff Teague getting traded out for the piece that got moved... Oh, for the draft pick that became... Who's the wing on the Nets now?
Taurean Prince.
Taurean Prince, and Taurean Prince was traded for Alan Crabb, and then Alan Crabb was traded back for Jeff Teague. That's what it was. So it was Teague for a draft pick, basically.
Triangle of perfection here.
Draft pick is Taurean Prince gets traded for Crabb for Teague again.
So the Hawks just traded for Jeff Teague 3 years later, 4 years later.
It's a beautiful circle. That's where I was going with that one. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You butchered it, but you also got it, so it doesn't matter. So thank you. But the Hawks did get their secondary ball handler. I don't know how important that is. Kind of weird to see them buying, though, because it's like, don't you want to be bad?
They were so bad, though. That's the thing. Like, when you have a roster that young, I think that, and this kind of leans into the Kyrie comments a little bit. I'm not going to touch it too much, but the whole, you don't want to set the wrong culture out the gates. And I think with a team that young, you don't want to have it be acceptable to be blown out by 40, 30, 50 points on a nightly basis. You have to be competitive to an extent. And I think by adding Teagan, it gives them a chance to compete in every game instead of the if Trae Young's not feeling it that night, they have no right to be on the court.
Or maybe this is what our team could look like if we have that second ball handler and they're not just waiting for, hey, we'll wait until we get there and then it's like, okay, then we can do what we really want to do.
Right.
Yeah. And, overall, again, I don't think Minnesota won this deal. I think if any team won it was the Hawks. You didn't give up anything substantially to, acquire Jeff Teague. And even then, getting rid of Crabb frees up time for DeAndre Hunter, frees up time for Cam Reddish.
Vince Carter.
Vince Carter. It gives you the ability to play some of these younger guys and not really worry. The wings can be the wings that you have on your team, and then you're not running Trae Young into the ground. So, I mean, the Hawks won this deal, but Minnesota wasn't really going into this deal to win the deal, Ricky.
I don't think there's a winner or a loser, though. I hate to cut you off, but even looking at ESPN, it irritates me that ESPN's even that the Hawks get an A and the Timberwolves get a D. It's like there are bigger fish to fry on the horizon. This deal is not it for the T-Wolves. They're going out to make another one.
But when those grades are given out, they are literally giving it in a vacuum because no deal has been made.
For the T-Wolves, I would say wait and see. If they don't make a deal, then bad deal.
But the whole point of grades is to grade it. So this is what you get for trading Alan Crabb for Trevon Graham and Jeff Teague. It doesn't matter what the setup is because you have to set it up and actually execute. So although they have bigger plans and bigger fish to fry, as you were saying, they're still 15-26. They're still right now 4.5 games out of a playoff spot, and they don't have D'Angelo Russell on their team. They don't have another player that they're going to bring in with that open roster spot. So right now they do get a D because they lost the deal.
They do have a guy who's playing up in the G League who they could sign if everything goes wrong. I'm not saying it's a win. I'm just saying they've got someone who's playing really well in the G League.
With me, it's just
I know Sean.
Are we talking the same person?
Not Naz Reid. No, Naz Reid's already playing on the team.
Yeah, but he hasn't got the guaranteed contract yet.
Okay. So, but no, he's got a spot up on the team right now.
Yeah, I just think that with the Wolves, it's what can you do from here? Are you going to be able to? And really, the big one is D'Lo, because everyone and their grandmother is reporting that hey, they're intensifying their offer for D'Lo. The question is, and this was proposed on Twitter before the Alan Crabb trade. From our boy Mike 2K, hit us up on Twitter, replying to an article that they were ramping up their pursuit of D'Lo, and it's in the Twitter conversations because a couple Dubs fans jumped in, one Wolves fan jumped in. It was first off, what's going to be the price for D'Lo, and number two, this is the biggest one for me. Will the Warriors even want to trade D'Lo by the trade deadline? Because if I'm the Warriors, hang on to D'Lo. You're still going to be in the top 5, I'll say, of odds. I'll be generous and say top 5 of odds for a top 3 pick or the number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. And what's to the Warriors to say, hey, we'll wait until draft night if we want to trade D'Lo. We'll wait until that point, because if I'm the Warriors, hang on to him. Then it's like if the draft lottery we get number 1 or even number 2 behind the Hawks,
right?
We still can get James Wiseman. And then once we have James Wiseman, okay, we can move on from D'Lo and get what we want. If they don't get what they want in the draft lottery, hey, we're going to hang on to D'Lo and maybe we want something else. It depends on, like, if they get Wiseman, they ask for different things from the T-Wolves. That's what I'm thinking.
I just want to throw out John Krasinski is the guy, and different, or I think I'm saying his name wrong, but John Krasinski of the Athletic of Minnesota had the first report, and he said new president Gerson Rosas and the team's front office has been actively pursuing deals on a number of fronts to try to remake their roster to better fit their vision of the team moving forward. That includes intensifying their pursuits of Golden State Warriors guard D'Angelo Russell. Discussions have yielded no traction to this point this far. So far, Golden State has been inclined to keep Russell unless it's blown away by an offer. So at least backing up your point on maybe they'll wait, you're going to have to blow them out of the water to get D'Angelo Russell because A, he's their best player right now. B, you haven't seen them with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, which was the point of signing D'Angelo Russell. You lost KD, but you could still get a good player that could score a ton of points for you and could still move the ball as well. And C, right now, or at least, what was my C? Great.
And right now, what motivation do you have to move?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, right now, C, you suck. So maybe you can at least. Oh no, C was the fact that he's locked up long term.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to move him right now. True. You just signed to a 4-year deal. So that was what I was trying to say. Thank you, Sean. What's up?
So that was it. I was looking back through the tweets, and I threw out a deal, which was because the first question was Warrior fan jumped in and said Rocco's got to be in the deal. So I threw out a deal with Rocco, and this was, I'm going to give him a shout out, at 903 Coleman, Dubs fan, said that, hey, I'd be happy with that deal, but it's like I put way too much. Like the T-Wolves are giving up too much. And he shot one back that had Kevon Looney in the deal. And that's where the Wiseman thing came in. Hey, if we get Wiseman, we can move, like we can include Looney in a deal because we got Wiseman. If they don't get Wiseman, maybe they want to hang on to Looney. So it's all about, to me, of not just what the T-Wolves want to get up, but what the T-Wolves want to get back, because Dieng's contract is big. You've got, if you're going to now include an Allen Crabbe in that deal, expiring contract, that's a big contract. So it's the Warriors, it's going to be, they're not just going to give up D'Lo. They may have to give up like an Alex Burke or a Kevon Looney to meet the numbers of a big contract that the Wolves want to give up.
I don't know. I mean, ideal situation, this trade is centered around Wiggins and D'Lo, right? Like,
no, what I was seeing is Culver and Rocco is what most Warriors fans were saying on Twitter.
Interesting.
Was Rocco and Culver and a first. That was the main of the deal.
I've heard Wiggins in some realms, but also I really haven't seen too much traction on what pieces are actually going to be in there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the Warriors fans would want that, because what the hell would Wiggins truly bring to a team like the Warriors? I don't think he improves that team at all, where Rocco at least is a 3-and-D guy, and Culver could also be that as well. Just be a spell to Klay, hopefully, and you can hopefully build him up to be a guy that if Klay leaves or if Klay isn't the same Klay, could at least fill that spot. I think it makes sense, at least long term, because Rocco and Culver are two secondary pieces where I think Wiggins always wants to be at least a tertiary piece, where you have Steph and Klay. It's going to be tough to fill him in, especially when he doesn't work off ball.
See, I think it's actually, like, I love this dynamic, by the way, of like the two dueling trade packages. I like the idea of Wiggins going there because I think that he is a perfect fit for that team going forward at the 3. Like, you have two great guards who can space the floor, and allowing Wiggins to be a slashing athletic wing, like, this is, for me, that's his dream situation. He's got amazing facilitation. That offense moves constantly, so you're not going to have a clouded up paint. Draymond stretch out the floor, whether people respect him or not is up to the day of the week, but like, I think ideal situation, like, Wiggins brings them someone who can take over games. If both of those guys are having off nights, Klay and Steph, you can still divert to Wiggins and he'll get his.
My biggest worry with that would be if you do have that and Wiggins does take on that type of role, then you're taking the ball out of Steph Curry's hands right away, and he is not your initiator. And we saw exactly when Steph is doing that, when Steph is your initiator on offense, how dangerous he can be. And if he's not that, or at least if he is that, what is Wiggins off ball? Is he just then a cutter, and then maybe you can have that?
Wing.
But I have the fears that he might turn into a Westbrook-like player that doesn't move without the ball, that isn't involved in the offense, and that way you then basically turn it into a 4-person offense and kill the flow.
But let me drop this little nugget in there. Wiggins, I'm thinking Wiggins is not going to be in the deal because of what we saw on the court between Steph and Giannis. You're telling me Steph's not trying to get Giannis over to the Warriors? And if that is true, because everyone's like, oh, we saw tampering on the court, but Steph Curry's obviously going to say, no, I wasn't trying to recruit him on the court. If they get Wiggins, that's a big enough contract to where it's like, well, we can't make a play then at Giannis, even if we wanted to try to make another super team. Yeah.
We could do another sign and trade because if Giannis says I don't want to go back to the Bucks, which I don't buy that Giannis is going anywhere.
No, I just wanted to throw that little nugget in there because of what we saw on the court.
Yeah, but I don't think it's substantial enough because yes, Steph was talking to him, but I don't think this is like
James has talked to him.
Until that paper is signed, anything is possible. Even he can go to the Hawks.
They're going to be a 70-win team this year.
He could go back to Greece. Like anything's possible.
I mean, Nikola.
I highly doubt that's going to happen.
I think. I don't believe it. I guess it's something to keep in the back of your mind.
Most people thought LeBron wasn't going to go to LA, and he did. So anything's possible.
No, I think most people did think he was going to go to LA, and I was consensus. Wrong. And I didn't think that KD and Kyrie were going to team up, and I was wrong. When you say
I thought they were going to go to New York. When you said Brooklyn,
they did go to New York. Brooklyn's in there.
The Knicks. The New York team.
That team sucks. But when you think, when you think about actually the true rumors, I was the one that was always being the contrarian, and I was wrong every single time.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we haven't heard any rumors outside of that stuff with Steph. That was the first time we saw anything like that, and we haven't really seen anything.
Anything's possible until that ink hits paper.
Sure.
I mean, Giannis can't even sign it anyways for 2 more years. So he's got this year, then next year, and then he's a free agent. So he can't sign until 2021.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, if you trade for Wiggins is there until 2023, which would affect
but also if you make that trade now, you don't have to move him right away. You still have you could still have him next year with Steph and Clay and Draymond. You could still have him on the team because you don't need to make a move because you could still have his contract on next year because you don't need to move him right now. You can move him in the offseason and then sign Giannis.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm just saying if they get him, he's not going to be that easy to move. So they might be like, we don't even want to mess with that complication if what their plan is what I'm saying it could be.
I mean, do you think that D'Lo's easier to move than Wiggins?
Yes.
Really?
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, they're both under term for long-term contracts.
Obviously, are you asking right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say D'Lo is easier to move.
And then in 2 years or in a year and a half,
well, I mean, Wiggins is under contract until 2023.
And D'Lo's longer. Because they signed, right? I'm not crazy here. They gave him the extension.
They're both 2023.
Okay, they're both 2023.
Yeah, because you could only sign a 4-year because he was going to
Gotcha. I would say D'Lo because if you're asking me which player I would rather have on my team, I'd pick D'Lo.
Yeah,
D'Lo's cheaper and younger too.
I get that. I still think that Wiggins has higher upside just as a wing, but at the end of the day, I don't think either one of these guys is hard to move.
How many years are we going to say that about Wiggins though? Man, he's got so much upside. Maybe this year he'll get to that potential.
I mean, he's been better this year than we've seen, but he hasn't been.
Ever since, and maybe it's the whole LeBron going to Cleveland that messed up.
Maybe it's the fact that in his second year he was a 20-point scorer already. I mean, that's the thing. When you start off already better than 80% of the NBA as far as your offensive skill set, it's hard to say.
And when the team hasn't built around you,
better.
I disagree with that because I think a lot of his points that second year were just high usage and then also a lot of garbage time. That was a bad team. They needed somebody to score. I think it's exactly Zach LaVine's syndrome. Like, how good is he truly? You're putting up 20 points, which is impressive in the NBA. You know what? I couldn't do that.
No, you could not.
do think that there is a point where it's like, all right, how impressive is it going to be, especially when, especially in his second year, he was shooting like 54% true shooting. And he has never been over that in his career. So that was his best year, and he's been, declining since then. I mean, his best year, at least per wise and true shooting wise, was that second year.
Yeah. I'm just saying wings are more impactful than guards in my mind. I'm taking a guy who has upside still because he's 24 right now and putting up like 23 points a game and like 4 boards, 4 assists. Like, he's not a bad player. And I think that you guys are having him on the Warriors.
He's a bad player,
saying,
but
like,
I don't
on
think
the Warriors, I think he's a good fit. I think D'Lo is a worse fit on the Warriors as a third ball handler because he needs the ball in his hands.
The big thing is defense, too. Like, D'Lo
Wiggins can play off ball.
A D'Lo Steph backcourt is atrocious defensively. I know Clay would be in there at the 3, but D'Lo and Steph, you can't have both of them in for their defense.
See, that's my thing. I think they need to move on from D'Lo because that triplet doesn't work, but Wiggins fits there size-wise, skill set-wise.
Well, and that's the question. If you're the Warriors, do you move on from D'Lo at the trade deadline, or do you wait until the draft or after the draft before next season?
They're in no rush to move away. I get why the Timberwolves are trying to do this now, though, because they want to make Cat locked in.
Yeah.
They want to be like, look, all the rumors out there, all the shit swirling, like Cat said it, I'm going to be a Minnesota Timberwolf, like that's my jam. It doesn't matter until you lock it in.
How many players have said that? I'm going to be here my entire career, go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of the problem with free agency, and players needing to do what's best for them versus trusting a franchise that's never going to put them first. So I have no problem with people saying that publicly at the time and it changing later on. I just think that it's a move the Timberwolves are trying to desperately make to validate this team going forward because they've been stuck in the same rut and they're not going to make the playoffs. And again, remember how hot they started off this year? And it was, everybody's giving them shit. I think it was like the Timberwolves are going to be bad this year or some shit and got memed to death. And then all of a sudden, as soon as Cat tweeted it, that team's just been shit.
Yeah.
And it's back to Timberwolves are spooky.
So I mean, I think you need to make a move at least if you're the T-Wolves because you obviously need to hit that Cat thing. I think we've seen enough of Cat and Wiggins that clearly Cat's a better player and you need to move on from Wiggins. So it's just something where maybe Wiggins would work better with the Warriors, but I'm not sold on it, and I know D'Lo would work better for the Wolves. So if I'm the Wolves,
that's the thing.
I don't know what is too much, but if I'm giving up Wiggins, it's not a deal breaker, and if I'm giving up Rocco and Culver, I also don't know if it's a deal breaker as well because Culver, he's been better, to start, and he is still young, but he was an older rookie. He was a sophomore coming out, and I don't know if he is that next level elite player.
He's an atrocious scorer, absolutely awful.
But he's also young.
He's young. I know.
So and he was a slow starter in college as well, and then he picked up. So I think you could say that he just needs to get more comfortable in his role. I also think it's tough for him where you go from a Texas Tech team that was absolutely electric at moving the ball left and right. And then you go to the Timberwolves, and that's not what they've been able to do. And you see, too, as well, I mean, since Cat was injured pretty much December 30th, he's been averaging 15 a game. And I think that just deals with there's less space, there's less, Cat worriness, there's less usage, at least for him. So you at least can go to him, and, he's shooting 54% from the field, 30% from three. In the 10 games in the past 10 games where Cat has been out,
45%
and they've used him more.
From the field.
What'd I say?
You said 54.
Okay,
there's a big difference there.
But I flip numbers all the time.
I know.
So if I say a number, it's probably wrong because I flip the fucking numbers.
I'm just trying to clarify.
I don't know what that is.
He's
but
45,
I do it all the time.
30, 57. That's his shooting splits.
45, 50, 30, 57. Right? That's what you said?
45, 30, 57.
Yeah. So, 45% to C is good. He's been an inconsistent three-point shooter before, and that was a concern that we had coming out of college. I think this could just be chalked up to they don't have a system. They don't have an offensive system that at least caters to his true abilities, and also he is still young. I mean,
in college he got to play off guard from a true point, and now he's playing off guard from Andrew Wiggins at times. He's playing lead point guard, and his assist to turnover ratio is almost flat. So that's things I agree with you. The system doesn't work for him yet. And it may take time. He may be able to grow into it. He may be able to take over. But at the same time, I look at this start and I'm like, okay, he's trending in the right direction, but I'm still not even sure this guy should be starting. I just get that this team's going to do it because they want to give him the push because he's a top pick. And you don't want to put a Kogi in there because Okogie's your lockdown defender on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind them starting him, especially when Cat's out, because at least give him a ton of usage and see what happens. Mm-hmm. I also think, too, I mean, the fact that he's going to be 22 or 21 in like 20 days, happy birthday.
Yeah.
I think you just can't. We nailed Trae Young to the tree last year. You know, like we were ready to kill him after a half a season.
True.
I would like to see what he would do. When he is playing in a better system, or at least with a better point guard, which could be D'Angelo Russell. If they do trade Wiggins, I just it's been 41 games in his career. I'm not saying he's a bad scorer yet. I'll just say that
he wasn't a great scorer in college. Is the thing. That's what kills me. Is like I liked Culver because he was that like combo. He's a big 2 guard who was able to ball handle some. He could share offensive responsibilities with Early Point. Mm-hmm. But
good defender.
When the game came down to the line in the tournament, like we saw what he turned into, and that's why for me, like it fell off for me. And I do like the idea of what he could be with a true point in a different system. But as far as value of the package, like Wiggins on one side versus it was Rocco, who is again this year he's less than great, but he's still 3-and-D wing on a good contract. And who was the other piece? It was Culver?
Yeah, for the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
It was Culver and Kobo.
Rocco.
Kobo.
From what I'm trying to work out 2 trades right now.
Okay, well, here, let me just throw one more thing to Culver, and you can finish up your trades. With Culver, his rookie year, he was a better off-ball player that shot 38% from 3. So I don't think that... I think a big reason why he was drafted was that he showed versatility both in his freshman year and sophomore year. He showed growth. He showed the ability to handle the ball, be a decent off-ball shooter. Yeah. I think that on the right team, especially like the Warriors, I think that he could be a very good fit. And after 41 games, I don't think he's shown that he is a great player, but also he's only 21 years old, and I'm not ready to kill him, especially when he's not in a system that truly caters to what he is. I think if you put him on a team that... If you put him on Boston... I don't think you'd be seeing these struggles.
I agree.
So I mean, you're putting on a great team. So if you're like no fucking shit, he's going to be better. But I do think that we wouldn't be having worries about what he would be long term. I just don't think that it fits because there's no ball handler, there's no ability to move, and he is a very good passer. I think, at least for his size, and I think that he can ball handle. I just don't think that he is a true playmaker, if that makes sense. I don't think he is very good at cutting, distributing. I don't think he's got great at reading pick and rolls just yet, and I think that's something that he can develop. But also, again, he's gonna be turning 21 soon. What's up?
So the 2 trades, the easy one that I worked out that works money wise, but if you're a Warrior fan, how many picks are you going to include on this? Allen Crabbe is going to be in this because the thing that I like from the Teague trade is Crabbe would be near the same money as what Dieng would be.
Yeah.
But Dieng's got 2 years. Crabbe's only got 1. So you can say, hey, you're done with Crabbe at the end of the year. This is just for making money work. I've got Crabbe, Culver.
Poor Allen Crabbe just being the salary dump of the century.
Exactly, because of how he's played recently. So Crabbe, Culver, and then 2 firsts. Add another if you want for just D'Lo.
Yeah.
Or if you're like...
And that's if Crabbe doesn't play with the Timberwolves because he hasn't started... And I think he might start on Friday, this next game, actually, if he would.
Today's Saturday.
Yeah. I've lost track of the days of the week.
And then if you want Rocco in the deal, this is where it becomes tricky because the Warriors have to add players. The only way I could make it work money-wise is Crabbe and Rocco because anything else puts the Warriors over the tax apron. So Crabbe, Rocco, and I put those same 2 firsts in for D'Lo, Kevon Looney, and Alec Burks. But the thing for me is if I'm training Looney, I'm not doing that unless I know for sure I'm drafting James Wiseman.
Why do you like Looney so much? No one likes Kevin Looney. You're the only person besides his mother that likes Kevin Looney. No.
I'm saying it's not a fact of liking Looney. It's who's going to play center.
Who cares?
You're going to put out
Sign
Willie
somebody.
Cauley-Stein? Like, who's going to be at the center for them? I feel
they
like...
suck. They don't care about winning.
I feel like the Warriors are not going... This is for next year, not for this year.
They could
the
sign
Warriors
somebody.
are not going to trade Kevon Looney unless they know they're getting James Wiseman for next year.
If they're getting what they want in a deal, especially picks and stuff to make assets and to go out and trade for other pieces to help next to Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, they will find somebody that can play a center like Kevon Looney. If
That's not an irreplaceable player.
Yes. If that is what they need to get the deal done, they will get that deal done. They could then just trade for him in the offseason and give him a second. Like, it doesn't matter if they are that tied to Kevon Looney. I don't think that truly matters.
Anyone else the Timberwolves could be going after? Because if all this D'Lo talk is seeming like the Warriors don't want to make a move until draft time, or unless they get an overpay almost for D'Lo, like, do you think there's anybody else the Timberwolves could be looking after?
So I did pull up, this one 15 days ago, Dunking with Wolves, Timberwolves fan-sided site. They've got
Love it.
Malik Beasley, Hernan Gomez, and Buddy Hield as 3 intriguing trade targets for the T-Wolves.
And again, like, that doesn't...
The Hernan Gomez one doesn't truly make sense to me. The Malik Beasley one, I guess, does, because you at least get to put him next to... I mean, but he kind of fits that Culver role as well.
He's just better offensively. Yeah.
He's better, yes.
He's going to be more expensive, though.
Better, worse ball handler.
From what they say about the Hernan Gomez just at the beginning, he checks a lot of the same boxes as Beasley, as Denver just has too many good players on their roster to get everyone decent playing time. Juancho is a different type of player than Beasley, as he fits more of a stretch 4 mold. Then Beasley makes more sense as a 2 or a 3, but that makes Hernan Gomez an even better fit for the Wolves' current roster. This was before the Allen Crabbe trade, though.
Gotcha.
But Crabbe isn't going to be playing a stretch 4 anyway.
The Beasley one doesn't really interest me. The Juancho one definitely doesn't. And then the other name you threw out was Buddy Hield, and I don't think that's truly going to happen. I mean, they just extended him. I highly doubt that they will move off of him.
They're just playing off of that Hield was became frustrated with how the Kings season was going. So
maybe
does Buddy Hield does he do a Deadman thing of like, nah, I want the fuck out of here.
I mean,
I want to trade.
I don't think he has that much of ability to. I don't know.
I just don't see them moving on from him. Like, even if he's unhappy, I don't see him moving on.
Yeah, I think that's unlikely. And
he's a perfect pair with Fox. Like, that's the backcourt.
Yeah,
they decided him over Bogdanovich. So, like, it's in stone for me.
That team's a fucking mess. So maybe you're able to find something. I mean, it is Vlade, so I'm not going to doubt Vlade doing Vlade things. Not taking. Why not take your fellow countrymen and just take the best player in the draft? Let's take Marvin Bagley. Why not?
I don't know. I think the other name that I've heard out there was the DSJ one, because he's not getting minutes. And I'm like, again, what does that do for this team? Is that where
D'Angelo Russell is? He's in the Buddy Hield and DSJ category?
That's what I'm saying.
Buddy Hield's better.
Buddy Hield and like D'Angelo Russell are really good players, and they're worth their contracts, and that's fine. But like, if they swing and miss on the D'Angelo Russell because the Warriors, like Ricky's saying, maybe don't want to move on until the draft hits and before free agency opens up, then maybe they go ahead and they're like, hey, we can take a run at DSJ and see if there's anything there, because his value is at an all-time low. And what's it going to hurt you? You're not going to make the playoffs this year. You have a young player who has great athleticism, and he did shoot pretty well, even though it wasn't a fit for the system in his time with the Mavs. His time with the Knicks, he was incredibly inconsistent and led to him getting benched, and it was a horrible coaching situation on top of that. And I know right now he's not getting the minutes because they have so many young guys they're trying to roll out there, but it's one of those things that makes you think, like, could there be something there that we can take a shot at him?
It brings me back full circle to the whole grading thing, because to me, I am putting a pause on the Wolves grade, because if they cannot make a deal done before the trade deadline, then yes, give them a bad grade, because Allen Crabbe can only be used this year for a trade. If let's say the Warriors say, no, we're going to wait until the offseason, then okay, the Teague trade sucked because you can't use Crabbe anymore. So the Wolves have to get a deal done before the trade deadline if they want this Crabbe deal to be a good, beneficial trade for them and not a bad one.
I don't think it's a bad one, even if they don't miss out, because Teague wasn't helping their team, and they at least then just get Teague off the team and they don't have to play him. Because if he's on your team, you have to play him. So I don't think it's not beneficial. I just think they could have gotten more for him.
Yeah, but if they don't move Crabbe or cannot, then the D that I'm looking at on ESPN, I would totally agree with, because it'd just be like you got rid of Teague.
Well, I agree with it. No, again, I'm not going to argue with the grading articles. At least going back to the Dennis Smith Jr. thing, and then we could wrap this up and go to Wet Boys. We'll throw a little hot route in there. We'll go to Wet Boys next. But at least with that and the DSJ thing, I truly think that his whole thing is just he's a worse shooting Jeff Teague. He's going to dribble the ball out. Like you said, he's going to dribble the air out of the ball. He's not a good passer. He gets lost in the weeds too much. He's more athletic than Jeff Teague, so maybe he's a little bit quicker. But truly, I mean, you have Dennis Smith Jr. and Andrew Wiggins on your team. Talk about just killing possessions. There's a
They're
reason.
not in the same category.
There's a reason why I don't think anyone's like, why isn't Dennis Smith Jr. playing? Because I think he's just truly. People are done with Dennis Smith Jr.
Isn't that crazy? He was a top 10 pick in the draft.
Top 5.
Was he 5?
Yeah.
Wow.
Top 5 of the Mavs.
Wow.
And you know who killed him? Oh, he was top 9. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
top 9.
like no, because remember it was the whole the Knicks took Frank over him.
Yeah.
And they all the fans wanted him, and
That's
then when
funny
they got
'cause
him,
Frank's probably better.
Frank is better.
Yep. But yeah, no, he was 9 after another bust in Lauri Markkanen.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I didn't really miss anybody either. I mean, like Mitchell and Bam, I guess, but I don't think I would have trusted. I mean, Dallas
called
didn't
Bam,
need that
no
at that
big deal.
time. So, and Dennis Smith Jr. was interesting at least for the time. So
Yeah, he's a dunk contest fucking potential player. That athleticism, like, lose an ACL and he still can jump 42 inches. What?
He's worse.
What's his vert?
Worse Nate Robinson.
Oh my god.
Because at least Nate
Sean,
Robinson
that's-
could shoot. Yeah, but shout out Frank Ntilikina. I guess that's where we're gonna end the segment. Shout out
the
to Frank,
Timberwolves?
the real goat. Yeah, why not? But yeah, I don't think I see a deal being done here with
Do you think
D'Lo.
they're just stuck in the sand?
I think they're stuck, and I don't think anything's gonna happen until the end of the season. What do you guys think?
Do they move?
Final thoughts.
I agree with you. I don't think a D'Lo trade happens. If it does, it'll happen in the offseason. The mini question is, do they make a Rocco trade by the trade deadline for just?
Well, yeah, we already talked about that last week.
Yeah,
I think we
but
agreed.
Rockets
that we
pulled
would.
out actually.
Yeah, but
this
do
week,
they
So
do they make that
Interesting.
deal? Like now after this, it's like, does that affect the Rocco trade of like what they're looking for? Or
I don't think it affects their trade. I think it just adds to their ability to then take on contracts.
Yeah.
Or
I think
their
everybody's on
ability
sale
to-
at
they
some
got
cat.
that roster spot.
Yeah, and
I think
then
they hit that point.
it gives them more flexibility
Okay.
to trade, whether that be for a D'Lo or something else. I don't think it's going to truly
Okay.
affect what they look for position wise, because I think they're just going to try to get value where value is, and probably
Having a
just
true
picks
point
in
guard on
general.
the team would be nice at some point, though. You think?
Well, that's probably why they would then look for draft prospects if they can't
Talk
find
to
a
the
true
Cavs.
point
They got
guard.
a bunch of point guards.
If they don't trade
But are
that,
any
None of
even
them
true
pass.
point guards?
if they don't trade that number 1 pick, they can get Nico Mannion right now. That's what
Honestly.
he's looking at in the mock right here that I'm looking at.
I'm going to be honest, and this is going to be just quick before we end the segment.
Yeah.
This draft sucks.
I like this draft. I like guards, though.
This is probably the worst draft that we've covered.
I mean,
in the
it
past
doesn't
5
have
years.
the for sure top end talent. It's a lot more spread out in my mind.
that
I
spread
think
out talent sucks.
3 through 35 right now
Yeah.
is the coin flip.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the discussion.
It's
and
gonna
the
be impossible to
argument.
predict
I
everything.
hate when it's locked in, where
Yeah.
it's like this guy is here and this guy is
After
here.
last
I
year,
like when it's
talking
locked in, though,
Zion
because-
18 times.
Yeah, but I like when it's locked in
They
more.
gave you what you wanted.
I like when it's locked in more because A, that means the players are really good,
True.
and also B, they could actually affect a franchise.
they
I
could still
truly
be
think
good.
we could walk away from this and maybe 3 players affect a franchise.
You think this is going to be like the Giannis draft,
I
where the
think
first
there's-
9 picks are just like fuck whatever? Like
Yeah, I think that
Anthony Bennett could go 1. Victor Oladipo doesn't. Like all these picks don't matter because they're all in the middle.
100%.
Yeah, and the 13th
truly
player
think this-
taken couldn't be the best player.
I truly think this draft is going to be horrible.
Yeah.
I have that weird.
We'll have
feeling.
that talk later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, let's. Final thoughts. You don't think a trade's going to happen?
Happens at the earliest at the draft.
Give me Wiggins for D'Lo. Do it. Put the picks in there. Make it happen.
I'm gonna make it
I
happen
want
right
to
now.
see this pick. I want to see this
You know
done.
what I want to see? I want to see the Warriors trade Burks and then just give Wiggins like 40% usage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to see Wiggins pop off because of the amount of shit talk he's endured in this league, and like everybody from day one, he was crowned as Maple Jordan, all this shit memeing on him, and just all of a sudden now he's on the best team in the NBA next year and he's killing it. I want to see success for the kid. And Cat gets to play with his buddy.
I don't.
And then they have to find a way to get Devin Booker over there.
I don't want to not see him have success, but also like.
Could you imagine
Clay
Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Wiggins, and fucking The ball kicker himself, Draymond Green.
What else would you
That
have?
It's been
team-
6 years. Like,
They will never give that up.
You just give up
Nope.
Wiggins. Like,
Nope.
whatever. Anyways, that's going to do it for the Timberwolves talk. Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. But let's move into the next segment, and we're going to talk about the dampest of dudes, the moistest of men, the soggiest of shooters. These are the players that absolutely popped off in the past week. We are super excited to talk about them, give them the praise and love that they deserve. Ricky Widmer, give it to someone that is undeserving.
Well, and this is you've been pissing me off lately, Sean.
Ooh,
I'm
great.
not gonna
Pick better players.
Well, and here's the thing: my guy is Zach LaVine, and the reason is I thought this was Wet Boys. I thought these were the guys that we want to put a shine on. And Zach LaVine, 2 30-point games this week, 2 wins this week, a 27-6-5 week. He has been balling off. He has been playing well. Yes, is the team horrible? Yeah, but this isn't the wettest team. No, it's the wettest player. Zach LaVine, he has been balling out. He's been playing well. Wanted to put that spotlight on Zach back-to-back weeks for the big boy.
Last year, I'll give you a little bit more credit because he at least shot well. He shot 53% from the field, and 48% from
40
three.
is not bad.
That's bad.
That's not bad.
He shot 0 of 7 last game against Philly, and they lost by
got
11.
Against Philly.
Matisse Thybulle put the clamps on him.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thibault's a great defender.
Oh, great. You're getting shut down by a rookie. Maybe an all-star shouldn't be doing that. Like, I don't know. Like, I'll give you a little bit more credit for last week because, again, he shot, like, very well and had, I think, he had more points last week. He was scoring better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was the thing where his best game was against the Wizards. Like, what the fuck? You want a golden medal? Like,
You
also
can
got
only play
fucking-
the people on your schedule, Sean. You,
Okay,
you
and
don't
yes,
pick
but
that.
also he also got torched by Beal. Beal put up 17 in the first quarter.
Beal's
like,
a
if we're
really-
just
Beal's a
giving
good player.
one-sided wet boys, then Karl Anthony Towns should be a wet boy every single week. James Harden should be a wet
Yeah,
boy
I
every
mean,
single
that's-
week.
I know.
I mean, like,
Hey,
we have
James
better
Harden
players
was a
in the
wet boy
NBA.
every single week last week, or last year, I should say.
Deservingly
Yeah.
so, but
Yeah.
right now I think Zach
He's
LaVine
playing
has,
better, too.
These,
has more.
From how I understand this segment works, is these are the guys that we want to put a spotlight on, and I want to put my spotlight on Zach.
Okay, whatever.
That's how I understood the segment.
Anyway,
Dave, give your wet boy.
my wet boy this week's a fun one. It's Cam Reddish. It's the player who many thought, is trash, shouldn't have been taken as high as he was, worst player in the NBA. This is coming off of 2 games in the last week where he had 20 points, 20 points against the Brooklyn Nets, and then 22 just last night against the San Antonio Spurs in a winning effort. Credit to Cam Reddish. He had 5 steals in that Brooklyn game. He had 4 steals in the game against the San Antonio Spurs, and he had the game-winning defend on DeMar DeRozan, who is notoriously not clutch, so that's whatever. But I'm just putting out there, DeMar tried to go Kobe on him on that fadeaway. Ain't having that. So Cam Reddish, great defense, tons of hustle. The whole season his shot wasn't falling, and now it finally is, and it feels really good. And I'm getting really excited for Cam Reddish because this is
It's a sleeper, Dave.
This is a
smelling
guy-
that draft sleeper.
this is a guy who for 7 months we had to put him in our top 5, even though he played like trash throughout college. And we're like, yeah, but he's gonna be good. Yeah, but he's gonna be good. And it was so hard to see it early this season because he looked horrendous out there. Like, he was taking shots, and not one of them was coming close to the fucking net. But at this point in the year, I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's doing well. I love the athleticism. I love the effort. The defense is there, and now the shots are falling.
The most impressive thing for me has been the defense.
Yeah.
He is easily their best defender, which isn't saying much because it is the Hawks.
It's more interesting that he's better defender than DeAndre Hunter, who was known for
That's
being
true.
a 3-and-D player in college.
He's been easily their best defender.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm that impressed though by his actual
2
offensive
20-point
output.
games?
He had a 25-point game a little bit ago. Like, he's a rookie on a bad team. He should be having more than this.
No!
Yes.
What? In what world?
In the
what
world that
Trae Young has like the second highest usage in the NBA. So
and he's
that's
also
where
a
all their offense
fantastic
comes
passer, so he should be getting wide open looks, and he's shooting like what,
from. And now he's
28%
starting
from
to
three.
hit those shots. Yeah, but if you
He
look at
did
his numbers
it for 2 games, Dave.
Yes.
You're wrong, Dave.
He did
You're
it for
wrong.
2 games,
Just
and he
accept
had a
it.
day off. So in the like, if you look at those 2 games, great. But he also had a game against
It's a
Brooklyn where he
week,
went 4 of 7. He
It's
went 3
wet
of
boy
3
of
in a
the
game.
week.
I know, no, I'm not saying that, but we're like, for this week, he is deserving. I'm not saying he's not
He's
deserving.
elevated his game.
No.
He's finally getting shots to drop.
But it's been 2 games, and you're
Yes.
saying like, oh, and people slept on him. Now it's been 2 games
People call him the worst fucking player in the NBA.
because he was. That wasn't wrong.
He was.
I don't know.
and
Luke Cornett's pretty bad.
Was not.
and he's been and I will say he's been better defensively, and he deserves all the credit he gets defensively. But I'm not going to give him a pat on the back for putting up 2 decent performances in 2 weeks.
I'd say 20-point games are more than decent, considering the NBA average is like 9.
Let's see. Ja Morant has had over...
Okay, so no. That's a good point, because I want to give honorable mentions to Ja Morant, who's been stellar, but I felt like I was going to get murdered for giving the Grizzlies like 7 straight fucking wet boys.
I would have went with it. Jeff is
Dylan
Grizzlies, baby.
Dylan Brooks, by the way, every game he scores more than 20 points, they win. I think they're on 13 in a row, which is just hilarious, because he goes, when he gets hot, he's just hot, and they win games. Third point, Norman Powell and OG Anunoby, I would have gave them a combined wet boy this week, because both of them have had great games. Welcome back, Norman Powell. You're shooting incredibly well. But yeah, no, it's just like there's a lot of guys who are deserving this week. But I wanted to take this moment to give the light to Cam Reddish, because it's been nothing but shit on Cam Reddish since the draft.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not saying that he's undeserving this week. He is deserving for the 2 performances that he had, and he was very good in those. But also,
and
like,
they've won 2 games.
The fact that
the Hawks won 2 games in a row.
The fact that we're talking like, oh, he, good for him for putting up 20 points, and like that's crazy for a rookie. I'm literally going through all the rookies that were taken above him, and all of them have more 20-point performances than him, and that's including his teammate DeAndre Hunter, who has 5. RJ Barrett has 10, which is shocking, but also Darius Garland has 6. Jarrett Culver has 3, so he's tied with Culver now. Kobe White clearly has more than him. I don't want to go through that. Jackson Hayes probably doesn't, but Jackson Hayes doesn't have a high usage, and Jackson Hayes also isn't even starting yet. But also we know that was kind of likely for Jackson Hayes.
Cam Reddish was a long-term project.
Hachimura, okay,
he's 20.
But over the past 2 games, you're sounding like you already finished the project.
No, I'm
the
saying
way that you're talking about him is like
this is like he's finally hitting his stride in the NBA. Like he looks like a comfortable NBA player out there now.
Again, it's been 2 games, and then he had that off game in the middle. I don't want to say that he finally looks like that.
Ass.
He finally looks like that, because I don't know if he has. And like even that Cam Johnson hasn't hit it yet, but Cam Johnson's had 14 games
Cam Johnson's like 5 years older than him.
Of over
I don't
10 points.
It.
And who's also probably 5 years older than him and is better and should have been taken before him? PJ Washington. Shout out PJ. My guy.
Yeah,
out here scoring.
In 3 years, let's see how good Cam Reddish is.
Yeah, whatever.
That's the whole thing with the draft. You have to remember that. Like Malcolm Brogdon's great,
and
he's lived up. And now it went from he's great, but he was a 24-year-old rookie, and now he's like Mr. 50-49. And we're like, yeah, no, he deserves to be considered that great, because guys drafted above him aren't going to be as good.
Again, I understand him. That's why we were putting Cam Reddish at 5 in our drafts.
Even though he wasn't playing like it in college.
And I literally kept saying on this, I hate him. Like, I literally was saying that I hated a player because he didn't deserve there, but you just look at him, and he should be a great NBA player. So the fact that he had two 20-point games in a week, good for him, but he should have been doing this like last year. There's some reports that he had that core injury, and that's still been affecting him. So if this is healthy Cam Reddish, good. And I hope this is the true Cam Reddish that we can get, that is this effective, and that's why he's been, not playing up to the level that he has been. But can I get one more week before we're saying, everyone slept on him? Well, he should be slept on. He still isn't good yet.
I want to know what Charles is lulling at in the chat. Char's giving a lull.
Because we're funny. We're hilarious people.
Is it something you said? Something Dave said?
Probably all of us. We're just entertaining people. Shout out Chars.
He only had 8 games in college where he had over 20 points, by the way. And 2 of them were back-to-back to start the season.
You talking about Cam?
Cam,
okay.
Yeah.
But also,
so
again,
he's not a notoriously hot scorer.
I'm with you, Dave. Give the weapon to who you want to give it to.
No, he is a hot scorer. He's hot and cold. And it's game
is
to
he
game.
Yes,
and
is he no?
He's
is he
on
in,
and off.
Out?
Like that's why it's above average. It's that much above his average on the season. He's playing so high. Sorry, who's your wet boy, Sean? I feel like we're never going to agree on this, so let's just push through
I just want to temper the expectations, because it's literally been 2 games. 66% of his games last week were good. My wet boy.
Who's your trash wet boy?
Is Markelle Fultz.
He's awful.
16 points.
Basketball.
Look at the
6
shooting
rebounds,
split.
6 assists. 44%
Absolutely
from the field.
garbage.
Did you ever think you'd see 33% from Markelle Fultz?
Yeah, before he was drafted.
Before he was drafted.
And I'd be like, wow, that's a pretty bad shooting rate for Markelle Fultz.
But it's a redemption angle. It's a redemption angle. He had a triple-double against LeBron James, took them down.
But it was only 1 game.
Put him in.
Why should we crown him after 1 game?
Seriously.
I think I made my point pretty clear with the Cam Reddish thing. Dave was talking that he is now. I'm just saying Markelle Fultz for the 1 performance that he did have,
season, and I was 45, 26, 73, feeling the win.
I never said anything about the season. I never said that he was now. The thing too. Here, what I will say is To the point that if to where I was bashing yours
crying.
and to where I was bashing yours, Ricky is always just bashing because he's a Bulls homer.
Yeah, I know.
But at least to yours, I don't think it was a bad pick, and I said that multiple times. So listen.
Yeah.
But then also with that, the Markelle Fultz performance also created that same reaction of the Markelle Fultz trade is the best thing that ever happened to Markelle Fultz. Being traded to Orlando is the best thing that ever happened to him. Like, he's been on the team for 2 years now, and we knew that it was going to be something
He was
that
at the end. He wasn't even on this team.
a year and a half.
No.
Is it then a
was
year?
literally
Is it a year
traded
now?
Almost a year ago.
Okay, so around there. So my bad.
We haven't even hit the 1 year mark. I
Two
believe.
seasons. It was last season, and then it
was the end of last season.
So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say 2018, 2019, and 2019, 2020. But the Fultz thing, this is the best thing that's ever happened to him. Like, let's at least have him perform a little bit more consistently, and he's been very good. He is their starting point guard and should be their starting point guard.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of all knew that this was going to be something that if he needed a fresh start. We know that he needed this. Like, why are these think pieces being right about him a year later? Like, we already know that this was a thing that could happen. We already knew that he could explode in this place, but he's still not even there yet. So let's temper those expectations. Like the Cam Reddish thing. He did have 2 20-point games. Good for him. Let's see it a little bit more. Markelle Fultz. He did have a very good game against the Lakers. He still needs to be more consistent. He still needs to become a better shooter. He's not here yet. He hasn't arrived yet. He's very good right now.
Markelle
It's
Fultz
good to see,
also
but
3 20-point games this season.
so he's Cam Reddish.
He's on the same level, apparently. That, according to you, he's on the same level.
Who's got a better 3-point shooter?
Cam Reddish by far.
Cam Reddish is at 28%. What's Fultz at 22?
Fultz is at 26.
Okay, all right,
On
not
the
by
season.
far, but it is close. Corn Doggy LOL says go Blazers, go Blazers. My NBA champion pick for 2020. But yeah, I mean the Fultz thing, it was good to see. That's what it was.
Look,
It was a
I love
heartwarming
Kelly.
thing because we love.
Yeah,
we love
I would
Markelle.
say, for all the shit I'm giving you, I love Markelle Fultz. Since before he was drafted, he was a fucking stud. We all love him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of the fact that I just want to give Sean shit.
Well, that's why I want to give some love to. I'm pretty sure it's Vegberg. I think he changed his Twitter handle to Legend of Bamba.
Yeah, I think no.
Well, then Fultz World at Legend of
Fultz
Bama.
World's different. Fultz
Yeah,
World's
so Fultz World, and it's at Legend of Bama. Tweeted at us the fire emoji with the Markelle thing, and I gave them just Sean's little bubble from our text group that said, also Markelle is my wet boy. And I said, someone is one step ahead of you. Not only did he say that's fire, he said his guess is Sean or Dave.
Yeah,
Regardless,
we both
can't
love him.
wait. Bamba still needs to make a jump next year, but with a summer focused on shooting, Fultz and Isaac may just finally be what gets Orlando out of mediocrity.
I agree. I mean, both those guys are going to be studs in the NBA for a long time. Isaac was low key a top, first team All NBA defensive player this year before his injury.
And you weren't saying there was last week. You were saying, is there a hush
Well, there's
on the
questions about the
D-low
injuries.
that the injury is not
It's
as
more
severe?
It's
or
more severe
than what they're saying.
willing to say,
Okay.
and that's the whole thing. Is I don't know if we're gonna see him again this year. So offensively, this team now they're putting Birch in the starting lineup. Vucevic basically playing like a soft 4, like a Kevin Love 4-5 tweener, which has been interesting. Aaron Gordon's had some really good performances because they need somebody to score the ball. But I agree, Markelle Fultz running this team has been great. It's been great for him. It's been great for the Magic to give him more run and let him kind of soak up those extra shot attempts. So I love the Magic, and they're definitely going to be an offseason away from being really, really fun.
Yeah.
So, and best thing is next year they get their draft pick with all 4 years of contract with that weird setup. I absolutely love the draft pick.
I don't know if Bamba should be
Win.
doing a shooting program. I think he should probably be doing a weight training program. But yeah, no, I mean, Isaac's been great, and hopefully we see more development out of Fultz, especially, hopefully he can get a shot more underneath him. Let's do a quick fantasy update, and let's try to sneak in that Nets topic. Why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so with the trade, did the trade go down? No, we still have Kawhi. So
Okay.
Kingy didn't accept it.
Propose
so no
it again.
trade.
Just propose it again.
We are 8th. We are still dead last in rebounds. So
Not shocked.
we're duty in
100s.
rebounds.
We're like 100 behind
We're really good at free throw percentage. We're like 3rd in free throw percentage and 2nd in blocks.
because our team's like all guards.
But we're basically points, assists, and field goals. We're at 7, so we're like
Dead
what
center.
9, 10, and then we're 8 in steals. So really, rebounds is what's bringing us down. But we're up 4 points as of yesterday into today.
I think we're probably screwed anyways. How far away point wise? How far away are we from 6th?
So we're 2 from 7th and 10 from 6th.
Yeah, we're fucked.
We're stuck middle of the pack forever.
We can just give up.
We're hard zone.
We could stop the fantasy update because
who's on top?
Doesn't
Just give
matter.
the credit.
It's still the same. Brad Stevens, Kingy, Sam, Iron Horde came, and then Jake, TJ McConnell fan club, and Top Cats are our top 5. Super Hippo, I think he had made a rise. He's now at 6. I think he was down at the bottom, and now he's up at the top.
Yeah.
So shout out to.
So see, we could still win this thing.
No.
When
anyways,
Vic comes back, we got hope.
hopefully, and
When
he's coming
if John
back
Wall
soon.
comes back
Yeah.
this year,
Yeah, so
we
he
got
should
John Wall on our team.
I think he should be coming back February, maybe.
Yeah,
around there.
the last rumor I heard was like first, second week of February, but it changes every week.
So good to see. But let's go out to the phone lines and we're going to welcome in our patron, Bilal. You can become a patron at patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. We're going to welcome in our LA guy, our Lonzo connection, and our Ball family connection in to talk about the Lonzo Ball family. And we'll talk about Lonzo Ball's team, the New Orleans Pelicans. We're going to have Zion Williamson returning on the 22nd, I believe, on ESPN at like 9:30, so you can watch his debut. And with that, Bilal seems to be drinking a little bit of the Pelicans playoff juice because he said that he wants to talk about the Pelicans possibly making the playoffs. So, Bilal, what do you think about this team, where they stand right now, and what Zion can bring to their team?
Before the season started, I always envisioned the Pelicans making the playoffs. But when Zion got hurt, that kind of put a wrench in things. So, but now I think that it's definitely possible. Right now, I think they're sitting about like 4 or 5 games out of the playoffs, which I think is like Memphis or San Antonio or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, but
you're four games out, and it's Memphis. You're right.
Okay. And yeah, I just really believe that this team, fully healthy, is a playoff caliber team. I know it's not going to be easy. I know that it's not as surefire as I thought it was before the season started, before the Zion injury. But the way the Pelicans have been playing recently, with the way that Ingram is playing, with the way that Derek Favors is helping the team, with his defense and his efficiency, with the way Lonzo Ball is running the team, if he's shooting the ball whether or not, I think that he's running the team well with Jrue Holiday out of the lineup, and they've been getting wins. To me, that's how you judge a point guard. Basically, is how a team is winning, and I think that they've been doing that. But I think that when you add Jrue Holiday, J.J. Redick, and Zion Williamson to this team, I definitely believe that is a playoff caliber level team that's fully healthy.
You could tell that Bilal is a very smart, basketball fan when he's obviously listening to us and supporting us, but also when he brings up Derek Favors' efficiency and defense helping the team, because I've been saying it for how many years, and he's absolutely right. When Derek Favors plays, this team is I think they're like 5 games above 500, something like that. They're insanely better with Derek Favors on the floor. So I just want to give a shout out to Derek Favors. But you're absolutely right. 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 2, and you see that Memphis has been able to get hot and then get into the playoffs. They've won 7 straight. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and now they're currently in the playoff spot at 20-22. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities that 8th seed is grabbable by anybody. You really can't count out Minnesota because they were super hot to start off this season, and if Cat starts to play well, they could possibly sneak in. Same with Sacramento. They're underachieving. It wouldn't be shocking if they went on a run to the end of the season. Pelicans now adding the number 1 draft pick, getting Jrue Holiday healthy back at some point as well, having Derek Favors out there healthy. This team could truly start clicking soon. How likely do you think it is, Dave, that this team could possibly make a playoff run?
Honestly, it's like 50-50 right now. This team is going to be in the playoffs at the end of the season. It is incredible to think of, where this team started at with the injuries out of the gates and where they're at right now, because we kind of started the year and Lonzo Ball was like a shell of himself again, and in the last month we've really seen him come through and play amazing. He's moving the ball around that offense. It looks natural again, and I think it's really helped this team take a big step forward. They went on that 4-game win streak at the end of December, And then since then, they've been playing really well. And, I mean, you can't give enough credit and growth to what Brandon Ingram has done this season offensively. He is, I mean, he's KD light. He's living up to expectations. He's killing the mid-range. If he starts getting the friendlier whistles, and finishing through traffic, he's truly dangerous at that point. But he doesn't shy away from the big shot. He took them to overtime, gave them the win. It's just, this team's awesome to watch, and I think their depth is really what's been big for them. I agreed that Derek Favors coming back gives them a legitimate big to body down low, and that's been a big difference maker for them as well.
No, I mean,
Ricky,
the next few games for them are going to be the most important. I know as we're recording this, they get the Clippers tonight, but Monday they've got Memphis. Wednesday they've got San Antonio.
The Memphis game on MLK Day, national TV, why did they not bring Zion back for that game? That would have been the game.
Maybe he's not ready to, Dave. Maybe he's not ready to come
and
back.
Zion.
I think they're probably
MLK Day. What more could people ask for?
they're probably more worried about their team actually being healthy and having their star rather than
2 days
driving up
I don't
ratings.
care. I don't care. It's 1 versus 2.
For me, I want, I am going to be the biggest, I've got my East Coast team, my number one team, but my low-key West Coast team is probably going to be the Pelicans for the
not
rest
on
of
the
the
West
year.
Coast.
Well, I mean, the West
in the Western
Coast
Conference.
team. They're in the Western
There's
Conference.
a difference.
Yeah,
Coast and Conference.
Western Conference and
For
West
me,
Coast
if you're
is different.
not in the Eastern Conference, you're on the West
They're
Coast.
literally
That's how
just
it
straight
works.
below us. They're not even west of
Yes,
us.
I know. They should be in the East.
They're kind of east of us. Anyways.
But I mean, they're probably going to be my low-key Western Conference team the rest of the way, because it's funny how things have worked out from our predictions where we thought the Portland Trailblazers would be better than they are,
They'll
and
get
they're
there.
not. But are they? The Suns,
Healthy
41
Nurkic.
games.
the Suns, I think
Nurkic.
they're on the way down. The Trailblazers will be how much of a
Ricky over here swiping.
Well, I can't.
Swiping, no
I
swiping.
can't touch you anymore.
I moved over,
I
that's
can't
why.
do that. I gotta just throw it out there.
Yeah.
But how much of a hole are they going to dig themselves into that they expect Nurkic to dig them out of? I'm not confident in the
second-best player
Spurs
last year.
hanging on, and this I think it's going to be either the Grizzlies or the Pelicans that get that.
Sean,
8
can you
seed.
hit us up with a little volume in the headphones
Yeah,
here?
That's what I was talking about.
talking about loudly, so I turned it down for myself. But yeah, I mean, going into Bilal and going into this Pelican team, let's focus a little bit on Zion coming back. Is there a part of this team that you feel is missing that Zion could add to this team? Is something that Brandon Ingram possibly isn't bringing to this team, that Lonzo isn't bringing to this team, that Drew or Derek Favors isn't bringing to this team? Because I was looking at their team, and again, it is kind of shocking that they haven't been better. Their depth is very good, but if you think there's one thing missing from this team that Zion could bring with his game and his skill set, what do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's glaring, really. It's glaring their problems at the power forward position. I mean, I've been watching them a lot, so I've been able to see that they've had to play Brandon Ingram at the power forward a lot, and that's fine in terms of him being able to, because most forwards are too slow to guard him. But on the opposite end, he can't protect the rim or he can't rebound in the way that's necessary for a real forward to do. So adding Zion Williamson in there brings that real forward presence, that rim protection, that rebounding. And only that, because if it's not Ingram, who is it? It's Nicola Melli, and he has potential, I think, but he's very up and down. He's kind of getting used to the whole NBA game. Even though he's an older rookie, he still isn't very ready. They have, if it wasn't Ingram, it was Kenrich Williams, and he's honestly the worst player I've ever seen him play. He sucks. He's really bad. He goes 4 games straight with scoring 0 points. If you look at the box score, how are you out there for 30 minutes and you score 0 points? So that was a huge hole. So you replace that hole with Zion, just the ultimate matchup nightmare. There's no one in the NBA who matches up perfectly with him. Either they're too fast or they're too weak. Either they're too slow or they're too weak. One of the other options. So you're adding in Zion to that situation where he loves to move off the ball, playing with guys like Lonzo and Drew Holiday, which we talked about before. And so he'll just open up so many things for so many guys like Lonzo and Brandon Ingram who are becoming better 3-point shooters. With Zion in the game, they'll be getting much more open looks because teams will have to build a wall for Zion, which means that there'll be open looks for Lonzo, open looks for Ingram, open looks for Drew Holiday, all these guys who are okay 3-point shooters but can be a lot better with wide open looks.
Yeah,
so I think that
go ahead.
It works that way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring all that up because I think you're absolutely right, and it's funny too because you're talking about them needing speed and strength, and you're talking about a guy that's 6'8", 275, and he's going to somehow bring both speed and strength to that team.
275, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's a big kid. 285 if you want to be generous. But with that, I think the biggest concern that I have is how are him and Ingram going to play together. Let me get your take on that first. How do you think they're going to gel together? Do you think there's going to be issues there?
I understand that. I've been thinking about that too also. I've been trying to figure out in my head how that really works. But I think that in basketball, like the natural order of things, kind of like the cream rises to the top in situations. Like if you look in the preseason, like you could tell that Ingram kind of noticed like, okay, like this guy, he's kind of better than me. So he kind of like backed up a little bit. And then as you watch it, you see Zion kind of, because he just scores. He scores so effortlessly. He scores with such a high percentage, like field goal, like 7% shooting like field goal. So it's like if you see a guy that's this good, this explosive, you kind of just like, okay, he's better than me. But also at the same time, England won't really have to take too much of a backstep because Zion's going to be coming in with a minute restriction, about I think 20 minutes, 25 minutes a game, and Zion can get his points without you calling plays for him. He doesn't need. He'll offensive rebound and dunk it back on you. If you're not watching out for him, he'll do that to you. He'll cut. He'll pick and roll. Like he's a guy who can get 20 without really you calling plays for him. So I think that and also Ingram is shooting I think 40% from the three. So he also spaces the floor. So you can't just leave him like you could last year. So their fit on the court might not be as bad as people think because Ingram also stretches the floor, so you can't just collapse the floor on this team.
Yeah, he has improved as a 3-point shooter, and we did see his sophomore year that did shoot around 39%. But we have also seen him just become an incredible shooter this year, and I wonder how much of it is just him being hot and him playing. And this is Ingram, by the way, him playing hot and him playing for a contract year because he's never been over a 70% free throw shooter, and now he's at 86%, and he's just been drilling every time he goes to the line, shot after shot after shot. So I do wonder if that 3-point percentage is inflated, but also you could be absolutely correct that if he is that dangerous, it's just going to create that space, and people are going to crash on Zion, and that's just going to open up, and NBA shooters are going to hit wide open threes. And Ingram's no different than that. Before I go to Dave on this, I do want to say the Kendrick Williams idea of him playing 20 minutes and scoring 0 points. He's 7th in the NBA. He's had 3 games of 20 minutes or more played with 0 points.
Tony Snell's got to be number 1.
No, not
What?
Tony Snell. Any other guesses?
That was my best and only
Say it
guess.
one more time. I'll be honest.
Most games with 20 minutes and 0 points scored. You're not going to get it. It's Trevor Ariza. Yeah. Trevor Ariza is 6.
Oh, yeah.
And the worst player in the NBA, according to Bilal Kendrick Williams. I love when people make those observations, though. It's hilarious, and it's just great because you're not wrong. I mean, Kendrick Williams isn't too many to count. So no, that's a fun thing to bring up. So bring up more stuff like that. That's awesome. But at least to Bilal's point, because I think he makes some great points there, especially with Ingram and Zion's fit. How do you think those two are going to fit? Because right now those two guys are your stars, although Drew Holiday is such an impactful player. I don't know. I wonder if he is a star, though. You know what I'm saying? Zion and Brandon Ingram are stars. Those guys can average over 25 points per game, and I think those guys are matchup nightmares where Drew Holiday is a extremely good NBA player, great NBA player. I just don't know if he's a star. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Some of it's personality, some of it's the way he plays, and his play style being a two-way guard. As efficient as he is, as quiet as he is. It just, at the end of the night, you look down and you're like, oh yeah, he's very good. He got his, and he's played great defense. And on the point of Brandon Ingram shooting, somebody did a breakdown on Reddit, actually, of every year they had his shot form, and it tweaked over time. And this year, it's where the elbow has been tucked in, He's much more straight away at the basket, the way he lines up. So it was interesting to see like his form has actually adjusted quite a bit over time, and he has improved, and the numbers show it. And I think that's I don't believe the 40% is inflated. I think that's legitimately where he's at.
It's called coaching too. The coaches are better with the Pelicans.
He's not stuck with Luke Walton.
I know, like, and that's the thing too of like not just like a Alvin Gentry of being like the better coaching, but more consistent coaching, where it's like when Ingram. And you can even say with Lonzo, too. When they were in L.A., it's like there was no stability there at all. And now you can probably say with this season has been the most stability that they have had in a season with their coaching staff.
I disagree a little bit. I don't think you're wrong in saying that, obviously he's being put in better spots consistently. I think that they're using him in a much better way, but the free throw percentage is just, I think, strictly on Ingram. Yeah. The fact that he's changing his shot for him year after year, the fact that he is, the way that he's playing like this, you don't just go from a 68% shooter in college and then 3 years in the NBA to an 86% free throw shooter by coaching.
I'll throw out this,
too. But I have a question, though. How did he do that? But you know what I'm saying? Because he was hurt all summer. That's what I'm wondering. Mm-hmm. How did he get better when he was hurt all summer? That's what I'm kind of wondering, like, how did he do it? I'm actually not sure, but he did change his form. Like, his free throw shooting form is different. Mm-hmm. Did he do it in one, like, training camp? Like, I don't know how he did it.
I don't want to say...
He couldn't shoot.
Yeah. I don't want to say that, like, because obviously I don't know BI, but I'm going to have a very Colin Cowherd-like take here. You ready for it? When you're in L.A., there's a lot of shit to do in L.A., a lot of distractions to take you away from what your main job is. Not as many things like I know you've got Bourbon Street in New Orleans, but New Orleans ain't L.A., so maybe it was just one of those things with coaching mixed with the change of scenery. Hey, I'm going to get in the gym more, and I'm going to get mine and work on my game, and now we're seeing the dividends of that.
I think the biggest thing, I think that's a ton of bullshit.
Maybe he's working harder.
I think the biggest thing is, I don't think he's working harder, but I think one thing that...
working smarter.
I think the one thing that could have helped him is, at least in that off time, at least be studying tape and be working with a shot doctor and being like, all right, this is what you need to be changing. This is how you need to fix things. He gets into the gym, starts working on that thing, and then also I think his numbers are inflated. I don't think he is this good of a free throw shooter. It's only been 37 games, so I think it could be a small sample size that are increasing and inflating this, but I do think that he has been able to put in work by diagnosing what's wrong with his shot, looking, game to game, what's been feeling comfortable and what was working in the games that it was working prior, because he was really on, off, and inconsistent. I think it was just more tweaking his shot, making sure that those tweaks were made on a game-to-game basis, a night-to-night basis, probably getting up a ton of shots throughout this season as well, especially free throws post-practice. And then I think as well, again, working with the shot doctor while he was injured, just to at least see like what exactly was wrong with his shot. And I think that probably has to be what it was, because I remember, the time that someone told me to tuck my elbow in when I was shooting, and the difference it truly made when I was a free throw shooting, and then I would forget it when I actually went out onto the floor and actually started doing it, because I wouldn't be thinking about tucking my elbow in. So it could have just been something that he started training where all it was tucking his elbow in, and he just started doing workouts and routines to at least, where he didn't have to truly be physical, but at least get in the motion of, all right, when I go to the line, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to bring my body, my elbow in close to my body to make sure that it is stuck to my body. Or, people do weird things of just literally like tying their arms to their body to then just make sure that that's always a natural resting spot for them when they're at the line. So that could have been something, but I do think it's a little bit inflated. The final thing, and it's more back to the playoff idea, because the West is open, that 8 seed is open. I don't think Memphis is as good as they are.
Get out of here.
They've won 7 straight games, and I love them, but I don't think they're as good as they are.
TV.
I do want to talk a little bit about the depth, and they have a star in Brandon Ingram. He's been playing like that. You assume that Zion's going to be a star. You have an all-star guard in Drew Holiday. Like you were saying, Lonzo Ball is very good at moving the ball. He's a very good defender. He's been a decent three-point shooter this year, at least for Lonzo, been shooting 32%. They have a very good center in Derek Favors, and I do think that their bench is very interesting as well. You have Nicky Alexander-Walker. You brought up Nico Melli.
You still have J.J. Redick.
You have J.J. Redick, Darius Miller. There are a lot of good NBA players on this team. With their depth, Bilal, do you think this is a team that, if they get to the playoffs, do you think this could be a team that could, go up against a Denver, could go up against a Utah team, and possibly upset a team in the series? Because right now we haven't seen any of these players on the floor, so we don't know how good this team can truly be. At least on paper, do you think they could go into one of these better teams? Maybe not the Lakers, maybe not the Clippers, but do you think they can go into the best of the Western Conference if they do go on a run, get that 8 seed, that 7 seed, that 6 seed, etc., and possibly upset one of the higher seeds?
Yes, I do believe so. I mean, not the Clippers, not the Lakers. That's not happening. They're not beating either one of those teams. Probably getting out in 4 or Gentlemen's Sweep 5. But Denver, Utah, yeah, those teams can be beat with Zion, with Drew Holiday, with who else is like JJ Redick still coming back. I think that it's definitely possible. A lot of these losses came this year really due to injury. Like a lot of these losses, like I know this team seems to be deep, but once you get to having all the injuries, then you have to play guys a lot of minutes like Mikal Alexander-Walker and Josh Hart and Etuan Moore and Frank Jackson got to play big minutes, like 30 minutes. Like you're not going to win a lot of games like that. Those guys aren't really ready to play that amount of minutes and get wins. But I think that this team, fully healthy, definitely has a chance. So I actually have a question for you guys. I think that I was wondering, who do you guys think is the starting 5 for the Pelicans? Who, when they're fully healthy, what is the starting 5 for the Pelicans? I kind of was wondering what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question and a good one, and maybe you should be the host of this podcast because I probably should have asked that a little bit earlier. So good question by you. I would probably say for me, Zoe at the 1. I think that his ability with the in the fast break and in transition is going to be something that you can't pass up matchup wise when you have Zion healthy, because we know what Zion can do in the open floor, and if you have a passer like Lonzo, you cannot pair those two together. And I would like to see what you can do with because he is still a very talented player and a very talented defender. I don't think you could take him off the floor. So I put Zoe at the 1. When healthy, I would put Drew Howard at 2. You're paying him for a good reason. He's an all-star player, and we know that he's better at that 2 slot anyways. At the 3, I would go Brandon Ingram. At the 4, I would go Zion Williamson. At the 5, I'd go Derek Favors. I know Favors and Zion might bring up a little bit of stretch question marks, which is fair, but I do think that Zion, while he may not be a great three-point shooter in the NBA, he is at least, I think if you leave him open enough, I think he can at least be a 33% shooter. He has a horrible form. He's not a good three-point shooter. He's not a good shooter form-wise, but it does go in. So I'm really not going to question that. And if it's, it's the honest thing. If he's able to be at least a little bit below average, if he can at least show people that it's going to go in if you leave him open enough,
they got to guard him.
You have to guard him. So it's going to open up the floor. Yeah. And he's not afraid to shoot it, I don't think. So I think that the spacing question marks can be solved. And then again, Favors also isn't a bad mid-range shooter. So I think that you could still find a way to at least work around that and have Zion at least in the post. And also him crashing the boards is going to be insane. So I think that you can play Favors and Zion together. Or at least I would like to see it happen to see if it can be a pair that works, because Favors is going to grab you at least 10 boards to 15 boards a game, and Zion crashing in is going to
easily 10 plus.
Is going to. I mean, they're going to be able to rebound with those two alone. And defensively, Favors is great. Zion's great.
Yeah.
Ingram's a pretty decent defender to a good defender, and Lonzo and Drew are already great defenders. So I mean, defensively, this is not going to be a team that's going to be giving up 117 a night. That's inflated. And I do think that offensively they could make it work. So that would be my starting 5. Dave, what about you?
The only change I'd make, and you're going to hate me, I don't know that I would put Favors in the starting 5. I think I'd try out Jackson Hayes.
Ooh.
Look,
okay.
He's young, he's bouncy, and he's been playing better as of late, and I want to give him the run. I think you can roll out Derek Favors with that lineup. I don't have any issues with that. But I like Jackson Hayes out there just a smidge more.
Why?
You could also slide.
Why exactly? I just want to.
I think Favors, if you going into the playoffs, matches up. Like I would want him out there against Trez. I think Trez eats Jackson Hayes alive. But I think offensively, having Jackson Hayes there, you have somebody who he's got decent defensive instincts. He's not quite all the way there yet. His body's still growing, but I think that what he can bring offensively, work in the low post, he's still a really good shooter. And Zion's like a If you
And
take his
Lonzo
preseason
can
numbers.
lob up to either Zion or Jackson.
It gives you 2 big targets in the low post, and I like that for BI and Zoe to toss it up. I think that you could move Zion to the 5 and add in, a JJ Redick or an Etuan Moore, and you could go that route as well.
Small, that's the thing I like with this lineup of. I would go with Sean's Jackson just because I don't know if Jackson Hayes is ready.
Yeah,
That's
probably not.
But like the
Jackson
future would be Jackson Hayes.
Yeah.
But I love the small ball lineup possibility of okay, let's take Favors out. We'll move Ingram to the 4, Zion to the 5, put JJ in at the 3, or JJ in.
Yeah.
Probably at the 3 because you're not going to move.
No, you move Drew over to the
from
3.
Either
You
or.
have to.
Either or.
JJ can't guard threes. He can't guard anyone.
Here they've got JJ listed as the 3 and Drew listed as the 2, but
they're just wrong.
You can interchange those and go with a smaller lineup if your opponent's hey, we're going to go small ball too, because
think of the
in a small ball lineup,
pace.
Zion can play the center.
Think of the pace. The Pelicans are up there as far as pace of play in the NBA, so I think that's one of the biggest things.
They want to run, baby.
They've been running without Zion. Imagine adding Zion Williamson to this team.
Can't wait for the 22nd.
And JJ shooting an insane percent from 3 this year. I think he's 45% from 3 this year? He's something crazy. And it goes low key because, let's be honest, this team has not been winning the majority of games. So
46.
Jesus.
Yeah, 46.4% on 6.8 attempts per game.
So if they're playing up tempo and go small ball, that's very hard to compete against.
I think they can be very creative. Again, they have great depth, which I'm very excited about. If I'm going starting 5, though, I think that Favors also proved before. Again, I just want to go back to his mid-range shooting. I think it's underrated. At least 10 to 3-point line, 10 feet to the 3-point line. He shot 40% last year, and he showed that he can play next to guys like Gobert. I do think that him and Zion in a pick-and-roll situation could be something that they could exploit as well. I think that they can. I think that Favors it hasn't been used to his full capability yet, and even with that, the team's still 11-11 when he starts. So I think that he at least brings something to that team when he starts. I think he brings veteran leadership that Jackson Hayes just doesn't know yet. He brings smart basketball play to where Hayes is just very young yet, and he cannot bring that type of level of play yet. Bilal, obviously, if you ask the question, you got to answer it. So what would your starting 5 be for the New Orleans Pelicans when everybody is healthy?
Okay, let me first start by saying you guys are pretty smart because I agree with all of you guys. So that's
I don't hear that much, so thank you.
So I guess it's the reason why I listen to this podcast.
Thanks, man.
But so pretty much, I would start Zoe, Drew Holiday at the 2, Ingram at the 3, Zion at the 4. And Derek Favors at the 5. But that's really just because Jackson Hayes isn't ready yet. I've been watching him. He's not really ready to – he can't bang in the post with anybody yet. He's not ready to do that. But if he's going against a center like the Clippers, that's you made a good point, David. If the Clippers, that makes sense to start Jackson Hayes rather than starting Derek Favors. But for most other situations, I think you'd rather start Favors just because of his savvy, the way he talks and calls things out on defense, just the way that he plays. You can tell, he's been there before. Jackson Hayes picks up, 3 fouls in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. He's just kind of young. But going forward in the future, he's definitely the center for the future, Jackson Hayes is. Just because of how he runs the floor, his athleticism, he's perfect for the team. They want to get up and run. So he's a perfect center really to run with Lonzo and Zion going forward in the future. But as of right now, if I were to start and just to keep the stability of the team and just keep what's been working, I would just stick with Derek Favors at the 5 for now, and just see how the game goes. He might play more, but it depends on who's playing well throughout that game. Also, Jahlil Okafor is not too bad. He plays a couple minutes here and there. You never know. He might get some run depending on how the game goes. Also, Ricky, what you said about Zion, that's what I was thinking about, how the Pelicans should close games in the playoffs if they were to make it, or any game, is with Zion at the 5, because that just presents a huge matchup nightmare for anybody. And you get J.J. Redick on the floor also, so you can spread the floor ridiculously and have Zion matched up against whatever team center, and that could just be nightmare problems for the other team. So it's like the whole Draymond thing, but just a better player.
Yeah, if Zion can,
I don't think Zion's going to be kicking balls either. He's not going to be playing soccer out there.
Hope not.
If Zion can at least guard fives, I think that is definitely going to be a lineup that they look to exploit, because the biggest question mark then is, can Zoe stretch the floor? And he's been able to do it so far. He's been shooting 32%, like we said before. But even then, I think you have three guys that are capable shooters, and that helps because Ingram's been a better shooter this year. That was another question mark. Can Lonzo, Zion, and BI all stretch the floor? And so far, BI has been able to do that. And at least within those two, at least Zion and Lonzo, you could just run pick and roll with those two. And I know Lonzo hasn't been a great half-court facilitator, but I think if you're giving him that big of a target to throw at, I think that it could be a very electric offense. And once those guys start collapsing, you're just going to be able to kick it around, and you're going to hit a 46% shooter in JJ Redick, you're going to hit a 44% shooter in BI, or you're going to hit a guy that I think has been near around 37% on his career in Drew Holiday. So it could be dangerous as well. The other point I wanted to make was the Jackson Hayes point. And you're right. Obviously, if he's going up against bigger guys, he can get pushed around. But I do like him against smaller guys. And it showed in 3 games in January when he was going up against a team in Chicago that I think they lost. It was the game they lost Wendell. So they lost Wendell. Wendell was out. They didn't have that big matchups. So they were exploiting Luke Cornett. They were exploiting Lauri Markkanen defensively because he was just being more aggressive. So when he's not going up against aggressive bigs like Markkanen or Cornett or like Enes Kanter against Boston.
Even with Wendell, power forwards and centers have kind of toasted us this year.
and then with New York too, they were starting Taj Gibson and they were starting Bobby Portis. So he was able to, in those 3 games, all have games over 15 points because he was able to be aggressive, and that is what his best attribute is his aggressiveness and his athletic ability, which is something that they can exploit and use. So that's where I like Okafor and Hayes off the bench, because Okafor gives you a little bit more of finesse game and a little bit more of size, where Hayes at least gives you aggressiveness and athletic ability. I love their team.
They've got a bunch of different things they can tweak out for different matchups, and I think that is the answer. They're not ready yet. They got such a young group of guys. But exactly like you said, given a situation, they might have an answer off the bench who can step in and make an opportunity for them to win a game.
I also want to get Chet in this. I was
going to say throw EJ.
Yeah, I think EJ wins. Is that easy wins?
Yeah,
throwing a G in there.
Might have been taken.
But not only does he say Zion can make set shot from time to time, the big one. Easy, he gonna eat his foot if the Pelicans make the playoffs.
I just don't want JJ Redick's streak to go down.
Picks or it didn't happen.
JJ Redick needs to make the playoffs. That's the rule.
Yeah. So let's give final thoughts. Bilal, I thought this was a great topic. So wrap it up. Pelicans making the playoffs, is it possible? And you know, if you had to put a percentage on it, what would you throw out there?
So I'd say it's definitely possible that the Pelicans make the playoffs. Granted, health, obviously. I would say percentage-wise, it's about a 65% chance to make the playoffs.
Damn.
I'll go right there with it.
That's pretty high. Not backing down.
I like it.
Yeah. Also want to throw in one last thing because we pretty much said everything. So just to wrap it up, I think that the Pelicans should look into trading some players before the deadline, either Drew Holiday or JJ Redick. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I kind of think that Drew Holiday it just depends if he could get into his role of just scoring and defending, and kind of let Lonzo run the team, you know, because he will get his shots. It's not like Lonzo's gonna hog the ball. If he could kind of get on the wing and just kind of be in his role of just a guy who can get buckets, like don't worry about too much of being the point guard, kind of let Lonzo see the floor, then I think that could work. But I think that the Pelicans might want to look into trading Drew Holiday. I'm not sure. I kind of think that a player like Miles Turner would be perfect for this Pelicans team.
Okay.
That's just me just throwing shots in the dark. But I think that they might want to look into trading a guy like Drew Holiday, just because to me he's been disappointing this year, and kind of all the whole David Griffin calling him he could be the MVP and all that is just blasphemy. Like he's not that good. They were calling him like, oh, he's going to be the MVP. He could possibly be the MVP. Blah blah blah. I think he's been disappointing this year. I like Drew Holiday a lot. I was very impressed with him when the way he locked down Dame Lillard that one year in the playoffs and how they pretty much did that whole sweep of the Blazers. But I think kind of test the market, and I would actually look into trading Drew Holiday. That's just my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I do think that, we keep talking about injuries with the team, and I think it's probably difficult to get a true look of what him and Lonzo could look like together on the floor. Just because Drew's missed time in the past 5 or 6 games, and Lonzo missed a lot of time too. He's only played 35 and only been able to start 25 games this year. So I think it's just difficult for them to get everything on the floor and together. But I think we have seen that Lonzo has been more effective with Drew Holiday off the floor. So it could be something that could be they could look into. But I think if they were going to move one of those guards and felt like they had to, I know you're a Lonzo guy, but I think they might look into moving Lonzo just because he is younger. They could get a better return, and Drew Holiday is locked up long term. But I do like Zo's fit better with Zion than Drew Holiday's fit.
You think they can get more for Lonzo than they can get for Drew Holiday? You think the NBA views it that way? I wasn't quite sure.
I think it's easy. I think that Drew Holiday gets a bigger return because he is controlled. But I think that Lonzo is an easier person to move, and you still get a very impressive return, or not impressive, but I think you can at least get a still very a return that a good return that could help you. Help the team not only this year but also in the future. I think that Drew Holiday gets you a better return just because of his contract. Final thoughts, Dave. You guys want to address the Drew Holiday thing? Final thoughts? Not
the Drew Holiday thing. For me, the playoff question that you asked was, I don't know if I'm ready to say Pelicans in the playoffs for sure, but I am ready to say it's either going to be the Grizzlies or the Pelicans that make that 8th seed.
Youth.
Yeah, and Bilal said 65%. So, I mean, that's at least 50-50, or at least what you said.
I'm 50-50 right now. And, I mean, if Zion, I know his preseason numbers. It was 4 games, but, the dude was shooting 71% from the field, putting up, 23 and 7.
And made Kevin Knox look like a kid.
He did take the ball away from Kevin Knox like a baby in candy. It was just, it was a moment.
And in the preseason, he shot 12 of 13 from the field against the Bulls.
Yeah, he murdered us. So if Zion looks anything like that, this team's going to be disgusting. But I'm keeping it 50-50. They got a bunch of teams that got to leap over to get to the playoffs, and they could easily get on a roll, though.
I got one last question. Can Zion, I'm going to say, steal the Rookie of the Year award away from, can he come in and
if they make the playoffs, he will.
Without a full season, just comes in and steals the Rookie of the Year award?
Don't do that to me.
If they make the playoffs over the Grizzlies, they absolutely will.
Don't do it.
I think
I agree.
Don't be that way.
I agree.
I hate all of you.
That's the only way.
John Morant's the only Rookie of the Year in this conversation. Period. Done.
All right, Bilal, we appreciate the topic. We appreciate your support on Patreon. If you want to become like Bilal, check out patreon.com/MostOutPodcast. Always fun to talk Lonzo Ball and the Ball family with our guy Bilal. But I know he's got a lot of draft topics in him as well, so it's going to be fun to talk to him for over the next couple months. So we want to give a shout out to Bilal for supporting us on Patreon, and we want to thank you for watching. We're going to talk about the Nets next. So Bilal, thank you, and we appreciate your support, man.
See you guys.
See you. And the final topic, we want to thank Bilal for joining us on patreon.com/MostValuablePodcast. But the final topic will be, what is the Nets core for the next 2 years? We could even stretch it out to 3 years. Who cares? Let's do 3 years. Let's do 3 years.
Is that the window of contracts?
That's the new window of contracts because you got a 4-year deal for Kyrie. You got a 4-year deal for KD. You got a 4-year deal for DeAndre Jordan. But recently, and this is from Tim Bontemps, ESPN or NBA writer for ESPN. He was previously at the Washington Post Washington Post and New York Post. This was from the 15th of January, so about 2 games ago. Tim tweeted out, Kyrie Irving was asked after tonight's loss to Philly about this game against a top East opponent, showing how much work the Nets still have to do in order to compete at the highest level while waiting for Kevin Durant to return. Here is Kyrie Irving's answer. I mean, it's transparent. It's out there. It's glaring in terms of the pieces that we need in order to be at that next level. I'm going to continue to reiterate it. We're going to do the best with the guys that we have in our locker room now, and we'll worry about all the other stuff in terms of moving pieces and everything else as an organization down the line in the summer. It's just something that we signed up for. We knew what we were coming into at the beginning of the season. Guys go down left and right. GT is out. DJ just got hurt tonight. Wilson is coming back. We've got complementary young guys as well that have done a great job the last 3 years. Collectively, I feel like we have great pieces, but it's glaring we need one more piece or two more pieces that will complement myself, KD, DJ, GT, Spence, Karras, and we'll see how that evolves. So he said that Karis LeVert is safe, DeAndre Jordan's safe, himself is safe. He threw out Garrett Temple being safe, which was a weird one. And then he also threw out that Spence Dinwiddie was safe. But outside of that, pretty much throwing and just saying that Joe Harris isn't important to this team, saying that Jared Allen isn't important to this team. Those were the two that stuck out to me. You could also say Nick Claxton isn't important to this team, but what the hell?
Is he wrong?
Throwing Joe Harris under the bus and Jared Allen? Yes, he isn't wrong. He's absolutely wrong.
I don't like this because
no one should. Fuck Kyrie.
You're not the GM. You don't make these decisions. And the thing I wanted to bring into this was I'm glad that you wanted to talk about the Nets was because I was flipping through my Facebook yesterday and I saw a video from the Herd and his biggest take was that Kyrie is like you don't build your team around Kyrie. That basically he went to Boston, they built the team around Boston. He says the wrong things, does the wrong things. You don't want to do that.
They didn't build the team around him. They literally changed 0 pieces. They just put Kyrie Irving in where Isaiah Thomas was.
And here's my thing of not necessarily I agree that I'm not building a team around Kyrie. Like I'm not bringing him in to be the centerpiece. My thing is kind of like what Shauna said about a lot of like Jimmy Butler was one. I think we had the same discussion on Superfans about Zach last week. Kyrie is not a number one. And when I say that, think about when he was in Boston and he was supposed to be the superstar for that young team. Right now in Brooklyn, technically New York, Brooklyn, with KD out, these teams aren't doing well. The last time that Kyrie had a team that was a playoff or championship level team is when he was the number 2 behind a guy like LeBron James. And that's why for me, next year, I'm wondering, will this all be water? I want to say water under the bridge because KD is definitely the number 1 and Kyrie can take like a Robin role to Kevin Durant's Batman. And also with Kevin Durant actually playing, will he be taking more questions and Kyrie won't have to take these questions. They'll just be deferred to KD because KD's the number 1.
Kyrie's going to be asked these questions because Kyrie gives these answers. Kyrie isn't afraid to speak his mind, which is fine, but he's also a huge dick. He didn't bring up Taurean Prince as well, and you look at the game that he was talking about, that Sixer game, Kyrie went 6 of 21 from the game and was a negative 29.
Yeah.
Like, this is an honest question. Did he take a lot of interviews and say comments when he was with LeBron on that Cleveland team? Because I don't remember much of that season being like, man, look at the dumb shit Kyrie said. It was after he went to Boston.
It was when he went to Boston. I think he got a bigger head of being the guy. Yeah. And I still think that now he sees himself as equal to KD. So that's why I don't think that's going to happen. Well, I think he thinks that they're the same type of player. They're still in that top tier. Yeah. So yes, he's not as good as KD, but I think he thinks he's in that top tier, which is fair. But also, I just think that it's ridiculous to do this because you literally just ran yourself out of Boston. Boston didn't want to bring you back because you're a huge ass on that team. And then you go out and just become a huge ass again on this team. Your team's not winning, and you're not helping them win. He has been hurt, so we'll give him a little bit of slack there. And it is true that this team definitely probably needs to make some tweaks and adjustment. Yeah. But what is the idea to be so hamstrung to DeAndre Jordan? This guy isn't that good anymore.
He's this guy, though. Like, that's the thing.
I don't care.
You stick with your crew, and I have no problem with that. Like, I'm always going to stick up for Ricky. I'm always going to stick up for you. That's the kind of guy he is. And I
could stick up for Ricky. You probably shouldn't stick up for me.
I have no problem with guys sticking up for their friends. Like, there's absolutely no issue there for me. I think these comments just kind of go to show the character that he is. He's like, look, this season is a nothing. We all came into the season with the expectations of let's just run it down, let's just see where it goes, let's see who can, separate the chaff from the bomb, whatever that fucking process is called when you make milk. But it's separation between who's gonna make it, who's not gonna be on this team long term.
We can tell that Dave doesn't make what do you say?
Milk?
Yeah, doesn't make milk.
No, I'm not a fucking Amish person. I don't churn my own butter either. Like, what is the point?
Is it lactose? The lactose from the milk?
I don't know.
Now I'm gonna look it up.
The point is that like Kyrie Irving is just being like, hey, he's reestablishing the point that he doesn't like young players because that was the same knock he had against the young kids in Boston. It's the same thing. You look at the players he listed out of that list. Guess who didn't make the cut? young kids. Like, wow, what a shocker. We're taking guys who have been there, done that, or guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, who is older, Karis LeVert, who clearly showed what he's made of throughout the whole last season, pre-injury, injury, and then coming back in the playoffs. Like, you can't question Karis LeVert's will and effort.
Was the word you're looking for pasteurizing? Was that the one?
No, there's a phrase about like.
And now I'm looking at how to make milk because that's what Dave.
Whatever,
put into my
man.
head.
Cultivating?
No, you separate the chaff from the whatever. I don't know what the fuck the phrase is. Just go away.
Cream always rises to the
Yeah, some shit like that.
top. Whatever.
And
Oh yeah.
the point I'm trying to make before just being massacred by you guys, comments are gonna love this section. Is like I don't think he didn't need to say this, and obviously like he comes off like a huge asshole. But I'm like, is he wrong at all? No.
I think he is.
No, none of the guys that he left off that list are amazing pieces to this team. None of them are stars. Kyrie Irving is a star. He is a scorer. He is a bucket
Captain
getter.
Matt brings up a good point. Joe Harris, Cavs teammate. LOL.
None of them.
Former Cavs
None of
teammate.
them are stars, right? I wouldn't say Jared Allen and Joe Harris are stars.
No, I love
However,
Jared Allen. He's a good young player.
Jared
but
Allen's
he's not
better
a
than
star.
DeAndre Jordan. He's a better player. I would take him over DeAndre
Right.
Jordan. And
But
Joe Harris
favoritism
is
because
a
of friends.
very important player to any NBA team. You can't get rid of a player who shoots 41% from the field, and on a good team with an actual point guard, unlike Kyrie, he could shoot 47.
But they might get to the point where his value is worth more to a different team
Yes.
for the right piece
Well, and he
for
might-
this roster moving forward.
And he might demand money, which is a good point of what EJ brings up. He says Joe Harris wants a bag. How much money will Harris demand? Which is something we could talk about. But I do think that let's talk about the team and what they will need, because we haven't seen KD and Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan and apparently Garrett Temple out on the floor together. But KD, Kyrie, and DJ, what is the other piece that they need next to them? Then, if they need another player, if they need one or two more pieces, what is the type of player that they need to them? Because if they need three-point shooting, you have Joe Harris already out there. If you need a wing, you have Taurean Prince there that you didn't mention. I think their pieces are there. I just think he's oblivious to the world.
Chaff from the grain, by the way, is the phrase. Chaff
Okay.
from the grain.
Is- and
I've never heard of that.
I had to correct.
I've never heard of that.
It's a farming
also.
thing.
The thing that
Not milk. My bad.
I wonder if this is where Kyrie's head is at. Of yes, it's not him saying these players are bad. It's kind of going to Dave's point where it's like, hey, these young bloods don't have any experience in the playoffs. We need to get some vets in here with some playoff experience. Yes, I threw an Uncle Drew reference in there because Kyrie is Uncle Drew.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
But I wonder if that's it, where it's like, hey, these young kids, they don't have this playoff experience. I don't care who it is. Somebody out there can do what they do to this team and give us playoff experience, because that's what we're going to need when Kevin Durant comes back. Do I agree with that? Probably not, because I feel like the people on their team are good, and you're going to get Kevin Durant back next year, and you get that experience by being in the playoffs. But it's one of those things also of Kyrie. It's like, hey, I signed X amount of deal. Odds are I may not, like, it's not a for sure thing that I'm going to opt into that final year. I could opt out and only be here for 2 more years. I want to start that championship run next year, not in my technically almost my final year before my player option.
I
think the answer has always been that they're going for a championship
No,
next year.
I know,
It's
but
Kevin Durant plus Kyrie Irving both
Yeah,
healthy
but
equals second best team in the East,
But
best
does-
team in the East.
but do these
in their minds that's the answer, though,
Okay.
right?
do
That's fair.
these comments, though, show...
they inflate their
I know
self-worth.
self-worth.
Yeah, you're right.
Does,
That's fine.
Do these comments, though, kind of show Kyrie's hand that he's not confident in the young kids
Yeah.
and wants older guys in here so that they could make that happen?
Yeah, but how much is the older guy, like what older guys can you truly bring in, and what pieces, what type of players are you missing? I don't think they are missing anything, because I don't think this team, like, you have KD, you have Kyrie, what you need around them is guys to space out the floor so Kevin Durant can attack the middle of the basket, so Kyrie can drive in and attack the hoop, which he's best at. So you can have guys like Joe Harris, Taurean Prince on the outside shooting threes. It doesn't matter if they don't have playoff experience or anything like that, because you have KD and Kyrie who have that.
You need to go get a defensive 4. You need a wing who plays great defense. That's what this team's missing.
I think Prince does
So, like,
that.
Rocco?
I think Prince is good offensively. I think defensively he's okay. I don't think he is great, because you need someone out there. KD's KD's great. KD's KD. I'm just leaving it at that.
Yeah.
But you need a 4.
I mean, obviously, we're concerned that he might not be the same KD coming back off the injury, but KD is still KD.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. You go in next year and you're like, all right, who's our 4 going to be? Well, Taurean Prince, I don't see it happening. I just don't see them paying him any amount of money. Rodions, I love Rodions, but like he is not there. He's a bench player.
Yeah, he can be left off because I don't think he is a guy that can start. Taurean Prince is a guy that now this year has like 1.6 defensive win shares. Like he can be a good defender. And I think if you do have KD who could suck people in, I think you could see that 3-point percent even go up. He's a guy that can play good 3 and D right now. He's a career 37.5% shooter from 3. He's a very good free throw percent shooter. He's a very good free throw shooter. He's a guy that was one of those older rookies. He came in at 22, but he's still been able to be a good defender throughout his career. I think that if you give him space and time, he could be a good starter in this league. Maybe the contract is something that is it could be a concern, but I do think that that's a guy that you could take that's already on this team and roll with. I think Kyrie is not a GM for a reason. He got kicked off for the Celtics because he tried to be a GM and he clearly wasn't. And this team's better without him. The 4 is interesting. Marcus Morris is an interesting name that EJ brings up. Captain Matt also says they need a 4 with size. But then why do you have DeAndre Jordan, Jared Allen? Those guys are 6'11" out there. So, and you have KD who's 6'9", who 7 feet reportedly, all that shit. So maybe a wing that is a 3. Rocco's an interesting name. Do you like Rocco, Dave, for them?
Wouldn't be opposed to Rocco. Wouldn't be opposed to if Otto Porter's healthy and not going to get a ton of money because of his injury. If they could lock him up, I think there's a lot of guys who can be that tweener role.
Can they sign him? Is he gonna be a free agent next year?
If he opts out, yeah, he's got a player option for like $29 million or $28 million, $27 million.
I will be honest, he's not. He's going to.
If he gets a long-term deal, maybe he'll. That's the thing. We don't know what he looks like. If he's not healthy, then he's going to take the free 1 year and get the pay. But the other guy, like they could try to take a stab at a Serge Ibaka, who's been playing excellent this year. And he's one of those versatile guys who they can roll him out to 5, they can roll him out to 4. He's a good shooter. He's a great defender. Good spacing. Derek Favors next year will be an unrestricted free agent. Like they can pop him in at the 4 and go strong with that low post. There's guys who will be available in the offseason this year, or if they want to make a trade during the offseason. Like I wouldn't be surprised. I think the names he listed, 100%. Like yeah, that's who he wants to roll with going into I'm trying to win a championship run. Is anybody he left off that list shocking me? No, not even a little. Like that's what I'm saying. He's an asshole for saying it, but I don't think he's wrong. I mean, this year is just to see who's good and see who's not, see who makes the cut, see who has trade value. That, in my mind, like that's all this year is for the Brooklyn Nets. You're just trying to figure out what that roster for the championship run for the next 2 to 3 years is going to look like.
I don't like saying he's right.
I know, because he's an asshole. But just because you're an asshole doesn't mean you're wrong.
I like the players that he didn't name, and that's what makes it tougher to say.
I love the idea of Nick Claxton, who great college player, and we're like, oh man, this guy can move the ball around as a big. Like he's got some special potential.
I'm iffy.
I love Rodions.
So
there's a lot of those guys who are like soft leg.
I've got 2 trades
that
involve people who he didn't mention, and I don't know if these trades go through, but they could add people that would give them some playoff experience.
Yeah.
And one of them, I don't know, fits that 4, but he's technically listed as a 5. One's Rocco. If you gave up Joe Harris and then the Philly first rounder that they got for this year for Rocco, I think that could work. Like, hey, we're going to give you Joe Harris. If you want to go ahead and pay him, go ahead and pay him. Here's a first. You get Rocco, who's under contract for 2 more years after this one. The other one is if you want to take Joe Harris, Taurean Prince, and then I have 2 seconds for this year to try to get Dwayne Dedmon. They'd have to get Dedmon and Swanigan to make contracts work, but to get Dwayne Dedmon, that's the one where it's like he's a center, but I didn't know if you could slide him to the 4. He's a guy that also has some playoff experience when he was with the Spurs, played in 12 playoff games. I know it was only 12 playoff games and every other team he's been on, but those are 2 guys that are out there that could give you playoff experience if that's what you're looking for with the Nets.
Yeah, and EJ wants to tell you, Dave, that Crooks kind of sucks.
He does. He's a bench player, but I like him. He is long. He's quicker than he looks. He's got athleticism. And he drives well. Just because he doesn't have a shot, whatever.
Easy also said Mercs.
Yeah. Well, I brought that up a little bit earlier again. I mean, with the trades that were brought up, Dave, I mean, what's your first reaction to the ones that he threw out there?
No and no.
Why and why?
Dwayne Dedmon's a 5. They already have 2 5s, and they're struggling to make them both happy. Like, Jared Allen is good, young, and up and coming.
And better than DeAndre Jordan.
And DeAndre Jordan is the guy that Kyrie Irving has said, this is how you got me and KD to play here, and we better keep him happy. So, as a front office, your hand is forced. And I have no problem with that. Like, that's the situation. Just accept it. So, I think when it comes to looking for an ideal 4, I want that tweener role. I think that the Rocco deal is potentially that could be a start of a conversation.
And the pick here, second, first, do whatever you want with it. But
Agreed.
Joe Harrison, Taurean Prince for that Marcus Morris. There's your 4, but you'd have to give up Harrison, Prince, and maybe even that first rounder this year that you got from Philly to make it happen. Or do you put in 2 seconds instead?
That one. See, here's the thing. Like, I don't know that I want Marcus Morris on my team. I love Marooks, but he's a ball in hand scorer.
And the thing is, his contract's up he's got 1 year left.
That's the
so
thing.
It's
so it's the like try to butter him up and convince him to stay on a low money deal, which. No offense to him, I don't see him doing. He took the payout.
But we did see Marcus Morris and Kyrie play well together. Marcus Morris had a fantastic year with Kyrie Irving. Both guys got shipped out because I don't think they fit with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like Marcus Morris had the opportunity to go to San Antonio for a couple of years, and instead he took the 1-year deal with the Knicks to make money. And like that's why I feel like I don't see him taking a team-friendly deal to play with his former teammate in Kyrie Irving and friend potentially. I just that's a stretch for me to see him make that kind of a play. But I do think that on that team, it's a question of like where the shot's going to go because KD and Kyrie are going to get theirs, and I naturally assume that like Karis LeVert is going to be getting good looks. Spence, of course, getting great looks off the bench, running that second unit. So I don't know. I don't know that you necessarily need like somebody who's going to take 15 shots a game. That's why I look for like one of those low usage defensive wings out there who can still stretch the floor out to give you the spacing you need, but also isn't going to demand the ball or take the ball away from players who are better scorers.
Yeah,
it's hard to find.
One name I was a little bit interested in, and he doesn't fit exactly what you're saying, but like Danilo, because he does fit that tweener role. He is going to be a free agent, but obviously he is a guy that has a very high usage, a guy that is very offensively involved. So probably not a player that can work. There are some guys that have that perfect above 37%. Low usage rating and a good defensive rating. You have the guys that actually play the 3 or the 4. You have OG Anunoby, Ersan Ilyasova, and then Serge Ibaka. You could look at Jonathan Motley, but he hasn't been playing too much for the Clippers. And then also out there is Dragon Bender, but I think he's too slow to actually be on this team, and he's been injured. So
what about the odd man out down south and Aaron Gordon? He's a player who I know he's under contract for a couple of years. And I know it's not the cheapest contract.
But it's cheaper as the years go on. So it was
Correct.
a front-loaded contract.
It's $19 million this year, $18 then $16.
Yeah, so it's something that does get easier year by year as you take him on.
And I know they're a team that's young and rebuilding. They've got a replacement for him in the wings, and they feel really good about Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
So he's a piece who, we always talk about him being the odd guy out.
Isn't that good of a shooter, though, and defender?
No, he's a good defender.
Isn't that good of a shooter, at least?
He's not a consistent shooter. I think he's a decent player, though. And he gives you that ability to play the 3 or the 4 at times. I know the 3 is questionable.
I'm not sold on him defensively.
Help me make a deal here, then.
Maybe him just playing on the Magic helps his defensive.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. I think he's a decent team
I
defender.
I see him guard a lot of the top wings, without Isaac out there. So we'll see how the rest of the season plays.
Help the deal get made, Dave.
Sure.
So Aaron Gordon
I could always be wrong,
for
too.
Harrison Prince, that would fail because the Nets would have to give up $5.8 more million. So we're 5.8 short. Dinwiddie is safe. Garrett Temple, apparently to Kyrie, is safe. Everyone under that is like, what are you going to put Karis in that deal?
No.
Allen in that deal? Musa? Like, what is going to be able to get it done? That's the question.
Might have to happen later. I don't know. It was just, he's one of those guys who
I don't think this is
I
a
see
deal
as an athletic big who can move on the wing.
I think with all this stuff, I don't think it's a deal that gets done this year. I don't think you have to get that deal done this year for it to happen. Any final thoughts, or you guys want to wrap this up? I think this is something that I think Kyrie was an asshole. I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, he never should have said that shit publicly.
No.
But in the back of our heads, we're like,
and if you were going to say it, like
Kyrie's
if you
guy,
still
though,
said,
where it's like, I should say this, and then he just says it.
if you still wanted to say
filter.
we're one or two pieces away, that's fine. Don't start naming people.
yeah, that's
That's where it gets
egregiously wrong.
iffy, but whatever.
And this is why I feel like this Nets experiment, even with KD healthy, they ain't winning a championship.
PJ Tucker, easy wins in chat.
Rockets aren't getting rid of PJ. It means too much to
If the
their...
Rockets implode,
I mean, I don't think they're gonna.
Daryl Morey.
They're not gonna admit defeat.
We're looking at Morey potentially being pushed out.
Yes, but the Rockets aren't gonna admit defeat. They're just gonna run into that buzzsaw.
No, like next year, like it's.
Next year they
because he's
trade.
under contract, and again, if they're gonna blow it up because they're stuck, I don't know. That's interesting.
That's a very good name.
PJ Tucker would be a great fit for this team
You know
going
what?
forward.
I think
I love that.
We should end it there because that's a great one. Shout out to EJ for throwing out PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker is definitely a name out there. I don't know what his contract's like, but big shout out to EJ for that one. That's a good name. That's going to do it for the Fast Break podcast. Again, we are going to take a break here. We're going to take a little bit longer of a break than we typically do because we got to record a segment with our guy John for the Primetime podcast. Then we'll be back around 3 o'clock, 3:15, to talk with our guy Pat about the Bears on Superfans. We're going to talk about Bears with Pat, and then we're going to do 2 Bulls segments. Now we're throwing up Zach Levine's Wet Boys, and there we go. We
Ricky's
got
just
the patrons.
fat fingering everything
So
on the
again,
keyboard.
we do want to thank.
It's this mouse pad on this Mac is so
It's very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
But again, wrapping it
Fucking
up,
sucks.
we do want to thank.
No, it's amazing.
We do want to thank Bilal for joining us. Very much appreciate his patronage. We do also appreciate his thoughts on the Pelicans. Very, very smart listener. What's up?
PJ Tucker's contract for next year, $2.5 million, partially guaranteed.
Oh shit!
So even better if they want to trade for him.
Finally, again, thank you to Bilal for joining us. We appreciate his thoughts on the Pelicans. We talked about the Nets. We talked about D'Angelo Russell. We gave our Wet Boys and also got in a fight on Wet Boys, so hopefully that was appreciated. We want to thank everybody that was in here, and mainly we got to give a shout out to the guys that were talking a lot. Chars and Corn Doggy were the first 2 guys that were in here. Evan, the guy that was most active. Shout out to EJ Wins, and the guy that was second most active being in here very recently was Captain Matt. So give a shout out to all you guys. And also, real quick, Dave, what do you think about Tristan Thompson and the Nets?
It's not the craziest thing to happen, but they'd have to move on from somebody like
Jared Allen
first.
So there you go. Thank you, EJ. We appreciate you. He said thanks for helping us getting through work today. You're welcome. I know the struggle. We know the feeling.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Again, thank you to Bilal. Thank you all for watching. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Superfans around 3.